Ladies and germs, it's showtime! It's showtime!
It's showtime!
It's showtime.
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 It's a showtime.
It's showtime.
It's showtime.
It's showtime.
It's showtime.
It's showtime.
Showtime.
It's showtime! It's showtime!
It's showtime.
It's showtime!
It's showtime.
It is showtime!
It's showtime.
It's showtime, everybody! Showtime!
Good morning, gamers, and welcome to episode 43. We are live at Southern Hemisphere Open with It's Showtime. I'm Emma, and...
I'm Mike. I don't know how live this counts as.
Well, look, part of it's live, okay?
So, in case you haven't guessed, this episode's going to be a little bit of improv because
What gave it away?
Emma's giggling like a schoolgirl, tired and croaky and husky-voiced. The rigging for the microphone and laptop's all kind of ad hoc because I've just emptied it out of the boxes and then the laptop decided...
Well, don't tell them that, because we could have recorded this live at show.
Well, no, because you're going to be able to hear the sound quality when I do put the clips in from show.
Okay, fine.
The intent was obviously to record an episode while we were at show over the weekend, and that didn't happen because we did get some great interviews. We had Little Robot, we had Alpha Strike, we had one of the boys from Crags, we had a few guys and girls come over and talk to us, but we got dragged away multiple times for multiple different things, and didn't quite work the way we hoped.
I'm also not sure whether or not with some of those interviews what the sound quality is going to be like, because one of the microphones kept singing. So
Yeah, I'm going to do my best to fix whatever I can in post.
Yeah.
We apologise for anyone who did take the time out to conduct an interview with us, and then it's not in this episode, because if the sound's too bad, I'm not going to hurt everyone's eardrums with
screaming microphones.
with using that. It also was just told to me that the mixing deck was dropped at some point over the weekend, so that's probably not helped things either. So
Well, the mixing deck was dropped after the interviews, not before.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like it was dropped early on in the piece.
No, it was dropped after.
Okay.
And I wasn't actually going to tell you.
Thanks. So we're going to do a little post wrap-up of show, and it's not going to really follow our usual format because we're going to just
Hence the opening.
because we're just going to jump straight into it. The breaks will be interspersed for the interviews. So we're just going to take pauses here and there, and I'm going to cut it in and edit. It's going to be seamless. You're going to be amazed at my abilities as an audio technician. We actually have one of our supporters and sponsors here today. I'm going to put him on the spot because he's come to sit and chat. I just wanted to give a plug for Little Robot to say thank you to Perry and the team at Little Robot. So he's actually got a mascot here, he's just saying. So he's just going to go and grab it. Little Robot have been with us since the first show. And they are all Gunpla. They are SMS Paints, who have sponsored our painting competition this year as well. We have to say thank you to them.
Yes.
Perry's got a big spool of bits and pieces from Gunpla, all grades and ranges. They've actually got the LRC painting competition this year happening at show as well for 2019. And we currently have the Little Robot mascot coming over. So I'll make sure that Emma gets a photo, and we'll make sure that goes in the show notes. This is our little robot, which is awesome. I should let her know we are recording a podcast live, so there's no video, but we would love to get a photo of you for the podcast, if that's okay. It's always cool to see mascots. We've had our Space Marine as well. So you get to have the microphone while Emma gets some photos. Is that the one? Yep. So thank you very much for joining us. This is going to be recorded, and we publish our podcasts every fortnight.
Yep, that's all good.
So, we're going to get some photos while we're chatting. So you don't worry, just answer the questions.
Okay.
So, are you? So, do you work for Little Robot? Are you doing this for fun? Is you doing it for money or love or?
Originally, it was just a cosplay sponsorship. Perry wanted someone to work with to build a Gundam cosplay, and that was my job originally. And
Is this the one that I've seen at Little Robot? The suit?
Yeah, the
Oh
suit.
wow! So
Yeah.
this is it's a hybrid suit based on one of the Gundam wings. Is that
Yes.
right?
Yeah. No, it was based off. It's not a hybrid. It's actually a 1-to-1 or 1-to-10 scale of an AGP Banshee unicorn.
Oh, okay.
So,
It
like,
is the unicorn, isn't it?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Armor Girl project. So they had pretty much like a selection of cosplay or costumes that I could make, and we went with the Banshee unicorn, and they sort of pay for the materials while I worked on the cosplay myself, and it was amazing. I got to learn some really cool new techniques for cosplay, because I'm a cosplayer primarily, like that's where I came from.
Yep.
And I guess the whole opportunity for me was just full of new techniques, new people, a whole new community.
New
and
inspirations.
like it was honestly amazing. Very like time consuming, and I definitely didn't realize how much effort I had to put into such a big costume. Like I looked at it, I was like, oh yeah, like it's armor, I'll make it out of foam, easy. And then when I got the model and I like put the model together, I realized how much more detail there was in it than I thought.
yeah.
And I wanted to like, for Little Robot, I wanted to make it like to scale. So I sort of measured every piece and everything, and it was just a
Oh
huge,
wow! There was a lot of background in.
Yeah. I measured every piece with like mechanical vernier caliper things.
Oh wow!
So like everything was like to the mil scale accurate.
So it was as accurate as possible, and then obviously, without sounding too weird, you have to measure yourself at that point as well.
Yeah, well, exactly, and obviously anime proportions versus real life proportions. There was a bit of scaling involved to fit myself.
Yeah, but I mean,
but, yeah.
it's cosplay. It's your adaptation for the scale as much as anything else.
Yeah.
And it's a great costume. I've seen it. So they have it on display on a mannequin at a Little
So
Robot
it's at the shop in Myrie.
in Myrie, yes.
And I was lucky enough to go and compete over East. So I won the championships of cosplay.
Oh,
that
that's
wasn't
awesome.
That wasn't part of it. I just sort of
No, congratulations. That's
was
fantastic.
Like, hey, like while I've got this amazing costume, maybe I'll enter in a competition. And I
Yeah.
did that, and I won, which was amazing. And then obviously I had the chance to go over to LRC. Sorry, not LRC, to GBWC at
Yep.
Smash last year with the team. And I think Harry didn't hate me enough, so he kept me on as an employee now. So I'm lucky
Awesome.
enough to work in their media sort of team, and I get to vlog
Come
things.
to this
and
sort of thing
Come
and-
to this sort of thing. And,
I must admit, the costume that you're wearing is lovely, and it is the Little Robot costume. So it's we've got some photos which will go in the show notes for our listeners.
Yep.
It is a lot simpler than the Gundam
Oh,
wing.
absolutely. yeah.
There's no armor involved.
No.
Although I do like the little touch. So the Little Robot logo, again, if you check the show notes, it's quite a cute little cubic robot with a little orange, red, I don't know what you'd call it, antenna, maybe?
Yeah, it's an antenna. It's an antenna. Yeah.
And you've even incorporated that into the costume you're wearing today. I love the matching hair and the eyes in the pigtails. It's a great look. My kids are looking on at you at the moment, so it's what happens when you
Thank
record
you.
live. But no, look, it's awesome to have people like yourself doing cosplay. We've got another cosplay here. He's actually had to go to work, but he's left his costume, which is his Space Marine.
The Space Marine, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I got to wear that today, which was
Whoa,
fantastic.
that's pretty cool.
It turns out I'm only an inch shorter. My shoes are the same size, so it
Nice.
fit, which was great.
Nice.
And I'd love to if he was here, I'd love to get a photo of him with you in the
Yeah,
suit, but
yeah,
unfortunately he's
yeah.
had to go to work. So
I think there's like a growing sort of community for
yeah,
less like pop culture focused cosplay. People
Mm.
are starting to there's a lot of LARP cosplayers, and we're hoping to sort of up the Gundam and Gunpla sort of
Well, it's
kind of cosplays as well.
It's one that I think you've shown a really interesting adaptation to, because cosplaying Gundam in a lot of people's heads would obviously be putting a big bunch of boxes on and trying to...
Yeah, I mean the classic, the box armor.
Yeah,
Like,
and that can work if you do it really well, but it can also look a bit less good.
Yeah.
And I think the adaptation you did for it to make it suit you and your personality and then represent the brand really well and still get across exactly what you're doing was a real testament to how much work went into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, it's a great costume. I'll have to make sure I get an up-to-date photo of it from Perry, hopefully with you in it.
Yeah,
hopefully he's got a couple.
I've definitely got photos of it.
Because we want to make sure we share that out as well.
Yeah.
We get some photos from Perry after the event when we publish this post, so that
no problem. Yeah. I've got plenty of photos. I don't know if Perry has any.
So if you are in Perth and you're looking for anything Gunpla, where should people go?
Definitely head to Little Robot, to our Myra East store.
Yep.
Perry and the team there are fantastically welcoming. We have an amazing selection of Gundam, Gunpla kits, Gunpla accessories, model kits.
SMS
anything,
paints,
really. We got
all
bunch
the
of paints
accessories.
and stuff. Yeah, we got heaps of stuff. And it's not just a shop. Little Robot is
It's a community, and that's what this event that we're at is all about. Perry's been a great supporter of ours from day one, and we really appreciate everything that Little Robot's done to support us. We're really proud to have the LRC event happening here at Show 2019.
Yep.
And I've got some ideas where we can maybe do some cosplay costume competition here next year. We've got a few different ideas.
That'd be pretty cool.
And we'd love to work again with yourself and Little Robot to continue that relationship and keep building that community.
Definitely.
So thank you very much for your time. I know that we've kept you probably 10 minutes too long, but
absolutely, that's all good with
and
me.
again, if you're interested in anything Gunpla, there'll be links in the show notes. But check out littlerobot.com. Is it .au? It is .au.
Yeah.
I should know that, but I've completely forgotten. It's been a long weekend.
Yeah.
And thank you very much to yourself and Perry and all the team at Little Robot who've come out, all the competitors for LRC. There's some amazing models there today. So we look forward to seeing you again at a future show. And check out Little Robot when you can.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Or not.
No, there was a good pause there, so now they're going to come back and hear the second half of this, and I can slip an interview
Well,
in
I
there.
tell you what, slip the interview in between the or and the not. Perfect.
We are both a little bit off today.
We're not off. We're awesome.
It has been a long 5 days of actual event time and then a long 6 months getting there.
Yeah.
And not everything went to plan, and
Never does.
it's the life of a tournament organizer is hard. The life of an event organizer is worse.
Mm.
I
I said to someone over the weekend, I went, the thing is, I'm not an event organizer. And she looked around and she goes, I think you are. I'm not really sure how that happened.
Well, I've organised, and this is, I suppose, one of the biggest differences from my career. I've done a bunch of event organising. The difference is, though, that when you're working for a big company,
You've got a lot of resources.
you've got a huge volume of resources. Often you have a budget that stretches into the tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. You've got a massive team of people. If you go to the boss and go, I need audio gear, I need the video, I need this, I need that, I need you to pay for the insurance to include this, I need to have this many chairs and tables, it's just done. And when it comes time to set everything up, there's a whole bunch of people who are being paid to do it.
Yeah.
And we're still just the two of us. And I say we're just the two of us with the caveat that we have so many volunteers that help fill those roles.
Yeah.
But it is a massive swing. I mean, I've done store openings, I've done product launches, I've been part of fashion shows, I've done all sorts of things in my years for work. But 3 years of doing this still doesn't prepare you for how much work there is and how many little things that show up on the day that you go, oh, I forgot about that.
Shall I share a bit of an analogy that I sort of had in my head for what this is like for me?
Go on.
So, for people who came to show, you may have seen the bar that we had set up at the event. Warhammered. And so that bar, up until probably a week before show, we weren't going to have a bar because it sort of hadn't occurred. We'd organised the liquor licence and we'd bought out the ability to be able to...
Which was a whole other drama all of its own.
We bought out the ability to be able to sell alcohol and all that kind of stuff. So all the things that went on behind it. And we'd got fridges organised and tills and staff and that kind of stuff, but we hadn't organised an actual bar. And then it occurred to me that we would need a bar, and we spoke about it and we were trying to work out what we were going to do. And my parents actually ended up building as a bar out of pallets, because pallet bars are a thing at the moment. And then they put this bar together that was made out of rough wood and, stapled, and the pallets, obviously they drilled them together and they were nice and safe and everything when we had it, but it was really rough. That's kind of how I feel that we are as far as running this event. We've put it together and everything's sort of rough and ready, and we're going to make this happen and we're going to make it work. And then we got some signs made up and they're shiny and they've got logos on, and we stuck that on the front of the front of the bar, but sort of in between the corners you could still see the rough wood poking out. And that's sort of how I feel, like we're the rough wood, and we've sort of tried to stick
hide some of the
that's it, we've tried to stick a shiny sign on the front, and
a shine. I think you meant shiny sign there.
That's what I said.
No, you said shiny shine.
Oh well, whatever,
doesn't matter.
Stick a shiny shine on the front of it and hide the fact that actually it's just two people who were just trying to pull this together for WA gamers, or any gamers really. We'll take you from wherever you're coming.
Yeah, absolutely. The problem we had was, there is only two of us for most of it, and I was trying to explain this to one of the volunteers yesterday, where they were going, "Oh, just give us more stuff to do. Like, we're happy to do it." And I said, "Well,"
which we really appreciate.
The problem with that, though, for us to do that is we live together. We spend a lot of time together. We've been together a very long time as it is. So a lot of the stuff that happens behind the scenes, we have these huge conversations and debates and discussions, and we, even when we're working together, there's less communication required because we've spent so long together. So a lot of the stuff that gets done through, I suppose, natural processes where we fill in and help out and kind of do those things. And so I said to him, like when I've yelled, like not yelled, but when I've kind of gone, "Go and do this," he's gone and done exactly what I've told him to do. But in my head, what I would have done incorporates two other things that you would expect me to be doing. And there's no way we can account for that. We're a small business, essentially. There's just the two of us.
Yeah.
And so our volunteers, who are amazing people, have to take what we say at face value.
Yeah.
And that leads to us running around like headless chooks, because there's stuff in there that we would assume the other is doing, and when we give a directive, we don't always make it clear that there's 3 steps, not 1.
Having said that, though, that's something that we need to get better at.
It is.
And I think having Micah doing the RPG has really shown me that if we have some key volunteers in the community that can actually take on, rather than doing things for us and us having to kind of do all the prep work and then get someone to just do this small element, if there's people who can take on an element of the event and be part of that, then that gives us the opportunity to be able to free up a little bit
with the right volunteers and and us trusting those volunteers implicitly.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, for example, obviously Micah is a key person within the RPG community, and he's able to do so much more than we ever could, because we want RPG people to be included, but we don't have those connections or the skills, knowledge, experience to be able to do it. So it's been fantastic having him. For next year, you don't actually know this yet.
Oh,
but,
good. It's always nice when we have these conversations.
Yeah, Marcus has just volunteered to help out with the painting element of next year. So, we may have a volunteer who will organise the painting competition for us. So that's one less thing that we need to be focusing on. And that, because although we gave it attention, we can't give it a huge amount of attention, because there's 2 of us spread over, how many different tabs have I got?
It was like 40. I've got her little organiser book here, being used as a mouse pad impromptu.
There's 26 different elements of the event that I've got in there.
And that's before the next half dozen I'm going to add, because...
And I was going to say, and I've got a half a dozen as well that I want to add. So, we've gone from 26 different elements. Next year, we're looking at probably 40.
Yeah.
That's when you've got 2 people spread across 40 elements. And the reality is you do 90% of the tournaments and I do 90% of everything else. So that we're spread thin. So
Yeah.
if we have someone who can take on an entire element and help, that's going to make a huge difference. So
Well, one of the things we talked about over the weekend was adding cosplay to 2020, and we've already got someone who...
And Troy, we did have
Yeah.
people who heard you volunteer to take the lead on that. So we'll be
Yep.
taking you up on that.
So if you didn't see it on the weekend, Troy is the owner of, or one of the owners of Play by Proxy, and he built the Space Marine that was on display for the weekend, the one that I got to
Under
stomp around and wear.
Sutherland's Foundry.
Yep. I was very, very humbled and excited and childish when I got offered to wear it.
Let's go with less humbled, definitely excited, and childlike rather than childish.
Okay.
There we go.
Oh, look, when someone asks if you want to be a Space Marine, you say yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's the end of it. That's the full conversation there. Do you want to be a Space Marine? Yes.
Now, sadly, this isn't going out until after the event, but what I would really like people to do is to comment on the post that this goes out. If you could just comment, "Hi, Will," that would be awesome. It's been a bit of a running joke.
He is actually yelling, and that's picking up on the recording software, I'm just going to say.
Awesome. So we've had a sort of a glitch with our, technical glitch with our recording. What is this called? Stuff?
I'm going to hand the mic over to Will so you can have a chat with him.
Okay, are you disappearing?
Just for a second.
Okay.
Hey, Emma.
Hello. Hi, Will. How are you?
Good.
Good. So I do have a voice a bit like a teenage boy at the moment.
Oh, it's fine. I feel you.
So tell me who you are and why are you here?
I am William. I am
Here because I
talking too
waved you
close to the
over.
microphone. No, I'm the secretary for Crags, which is the Kwinana Rockingham Armchair General. It is Sanctuary.
I think it's Sanctuary. Oh, yeah, because I can see the sign that says Kwinana Rockingham Armchair Generals Sanctuary to the tabletop gaming specialist.
We are a club. Okay, we're a club based in Kwinana, south of the river. It's sort of centralised south of the river, Mandurah, Rockingham, sort of Kwinana, Leeds, all those areas around there.
Yep.
We have a lot of people come down. It's on a Friday night. It's just a nice, friendly place for people to come and play lots of tabletop games. Warhammer, 40k, AOS. We've got Malifaux there. We've got Super Dungeon Explore. I bought that the other week. Super fun.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so good. So good. Lots of, like, anything. They've got a butt-ton of club armies for a lot of the stuff too. So if you don't have an army but you want to come down and play something, or
There's the opportunity to do that.
There's the opportunity for it.
Yeah.
It's just a nice place. It's on a Friday night, 7:30 to a soft 11.
It's a really soft 11. Yeah.
I think 2 weeks ago we left at 2 a.m.
Was that the week that Mike was there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah. We didn't get out till real early.
Yeah.
But
So with some of the clubs, they have to close their doors by a certain time. Kwinana, Rockingham have a little bit more flexibility in their close time.
Yes.
And so, they close their doors. They close their doors at 11 o'clock, which that's what time they've leased it to.
We're not kicking you out on 11. You're finishing your game up.
Yeah.
You're getting time.
However, afterwards they then all go and stand in the car park and have a good old chat.
Yeah, gas bag about the week, the day, how our game went.
Yeah.
How the dice rolled bullshit.
Yeah.
I should have got those sixes, not ones.
Yeah, that's it. It was totally the dice's fault, nothing to do with my lack of skill in the game.
No, definitely.
But it is also, it's one of the clubs that I go to where there are other women who are there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's Nikki, Cara. They're here helping today.
They are.
From our club. There's plenty more around that do it. It's. We don't care. Come play. Don't be a jerk. I don't care who you are, what you're doing.
Yeah, that's funny. We got
Have
someone.
fun, not be a jerk.
Yeah.
Simple.
That's our rule as well. We had someone who contacted us and said, "Oh, I have this disability. Is it okay if I come and play in one of your events?"
I'm disabled.
And I said to him, "I'm like, are you a jerk?"
Yeah.
I didn't actually use those words, but words to those effect. And he went, "No." I said, "Well, in that case, I don't care whether you're disabled, whether you've got no legs, no arms. You let me know whether or not you need any extra assistance or extra space, something like that. But I don't care about any of that. It's just if you can be a nice person, you can come to our events."
Exactly. If you're nice, we want you. If you're not,
maybe stay home.
Maybe stay home. Maybe stick in the corner with the other nice dude that you don't bring.
That's exactly it.
But it's super fun, super casual. There's a lot more games that we have. I mean, we've got 5 games here on display that we play often with Shadespire, Gorchos, and Blood Bowl. Blood Bowl is a big thing down there at the moment. We have 28 people in our third.
That's amazing, isn't it?
What's it called again? It's not a tournament, it's the season. Third season. It's a third season, yeah.
Yes, football. They have seasons, don't they?
Yeah, it's a third season deep.
Yep.
I've only played 2 of them with my orcs. Yeah, it was good. I don't like my voice. Sorry.
So Crags is really friendly. Is there anything about show that you would like to share for Crags coming, or people should come and...
I mean, we've got our displays. We've got our testing games, the demo games. If people want to come, it's too late now to sort of come down and play them when this goes out. But
this goes out afterwards, but come see them next year.
Come down on the Friday as well. Come down if you want a demo game. We've got our Crags Facebook page. Just sort of go, hey, I want to come and learn AOS. Is someone going to be in? Or I want to come and play some Gore Chosen, or let's play some Shadespire. Is there a Blood Bowl match I can hook into, learn? There's plenty of those options around. There's plenty of people that are willing to teach you. Plenty of people, if you want to go full hard to the paint tournament mode, you're 1 millimeter out. No, sorry, we've got those kind of games too.
Awesome.
It's something for everyone.
Something for everyone, yeah. And there are younger players are welcome as well.
Oh yeah, we've got a few that came in last month. They were like 15, 16. Their parents came down with them. We sort of kept it casual there for them as well. We've got all the club terrain. You guys are borrowing some of it, and it's you come in there. The board is there. The tabletop is there. Everything is there. Just bring your army, and you're good to go.
Perfect.
It's fun. Anyway, I've got to head back to the table.
Cool. Thank you very much for your time. Awesome. Bye, Will. Thank you.
That's all that needs to be said.
Okay.
Anyway, between Troy and we met a couple of cosplayers on the Sunday as well. They're all very keen to come and have cosplay at show. Mm-hmm. And one of the questions we got asked was, are you willing to listen to us and work with us? Because there were a few things that we'd like to tweak at other conventions we go to. And the response we gave was, you tell us what you need
we'll make it happen.
And how you want it to be. And either we'll make it happen or we'll give you the capacity to make it happen in the way that your community needs it to happen.
With the caveat of to the best of our ability.
Yes,
because
there's only so much money and time.
and resources and space and that kind of thing. So but we want to work with the community to try and create an event that the community want.
Yeah. And it's the same with, we were hoping to get LARP there for 2019. That didn't happen. We know that LARP West are keen to talk to us about 2020. And they're Shattered Empires. I don't think that's the right game name, though. It's Shattered something. Shattered Worlds? Shattered Worlds.
Okay.
Has just got incorporated as a proper not-for-profit organisation club format.
Entity.
So they're keen to come along and show off some LARP next year. And I know that if they want to come along and let people get interactive, then that's a whole nother part of our hobby that can be explored, and it crosses over into cosplay and it crosses over into RPG. And those two events then cross over into tabletop and miniature gaming. And there's this whole pool of... we've had Gunpla from Little Robot now for 3 years in a row. This is the first year we hosted LRC, which is the West Australian component of the National Gunpla Painting Championships.
Mm-hmm.
And we had the head of Bandai Australia fly over, which I wasn't aware of until he turned up, and I got introduced to him. I didn't quite realise that Perry had organised him to come over and be the judge.
Yeah.
So I got to meet him on the weekend and exchange some contact details, and he's really keen to work with us in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
That's exciting for us because the Gunpla component of our event's only been small.
Yeah.
But it means that we can nurture that. There's a whole bunch of our tabletop hobbyists who are Gunpla. Will from Crags was like a kid in a candy store the first year.
But that's how we met Troy.
Yeah, exactly.
He actually came with Little Robot the first year, and then he came back last year as
the Space Marine.
As the Space Marine. He came back this year to try and show people how to start some cosplay, and then next year he's looking at actually trying to bring
helping
cosplay
us host part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's fantastic to see that happening and sort of spiderwebbing out a little bit.
Yeah, and each year we've also had a number of different retailers and people within the community, not just in WA but interstate, and we're actually got some international coverage this year as well, which is exciting.
Mm-hmm.
So with
that, one of the volunteers who was absolutely fantastic and so helpful that came up from Bustleton heard about us because of the coverage that we got through independent characters.
Oh, awesome.
So he, relatively, as far as the world goes, he lives at the end of the road.
Oh, yeah, it's a 2.5 hour drive.
It's a really long road, but compared to here to California or here to Nottingham, he lives around the corner. And he heard about us because he heard on a podcast in America about people who were doing this stuff in his neighbourhood type of thing. So he came up. So we're really grateful, obviously, to...
that was David, wasn't it?
Dave, yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing. We know that we're not engaging all of the West Australian community yet. There's still huge sections that walk in and go, didn't know it was happening. And we spent thousands of dollars on advertising, and we have done each year.
Can I share my story? I did share this on Facebook, but for people so I've just been reading some stuff about Facebook, and apparently only 6% of people are likely to have actually seen it because I only use text. With the door, we were next to the train convention, and so people were coming to us that were trying to get to the trains, and not vice versa because they had to go past us. But anyway, so this couple came up with 2 young kids, and they thought they were going to the trains with their kids. And so I was explaining what we were and all of this kind of stuff, and I said tabletop gaming, and she groaned and rolled her eyes, and his face kind of did a weird thing. And then so I explained it and said, but, from that response, obviously I'm guessing you're here for the trains. So it's just down there, and explained kind of the deal that we had with the trains, and if they came to us afterwards, and they got a reduced rate because we'd worked that out with the trains, and it happened vice versa. If people came to us, then they got a reduced rate to go into the trains. Anyway, as they were walking away, she hit him on the arm and went, "You planned this, didn't you? You knew they were here. You planned it." And he's going, "I swear, I didn't know. Honestly, I swear it. I didn't know they were here." And so I don't know whether or not they did actually make it in, but it made me laugh so much because, she's going, "Oh my God, I knew you planned this. You said you wanted to come out of the trains with the kids, and really you just want to go next door and play with toy soldiers." And he's going, "Honestly, no, I didn't know. I thought it was so us. But
us a few years ago at the very least.
Oh, no, I still think even now at times. But no, we would definitely go in now to check it out and get some ideas, really. But he lives around he lives in our state. Obviously, he's a gamer, and he didn't know that our event was on.
Yeah.
So it's definitely something that we need to try and work out. How do we get more people knowing about this?
Yeah, and it's not a small budget that gets allocated for advertising each year.
No.
And we're still clearly not reaching parts of the community.
Yeah. So
that's something we need to try and figure out how to do better.
And yet we had people in Canada who watched every single Facebook Live that we did.
Yeah.
And whereabouts is Chad?
Chad's in Tennessee.
So Chad in Tennessee, Josh in Nevada. So we had people in
guys
America.
Guys in Amsterdam were watching us.
Yeah. My relatives who happened to be in the UK were watching us. So we had people all over the world watching us, and yet people who live
Someone who lives in the Perth metro area didn't know we were here.
So, we need to do something about that. I don't know what.
No,
if anyone has any suggestions, we are definitely open to hearing them.
Yeah, it's it was interesting watching everyone come through. We had much more space this year, and it was all on one floor.
Yeah.
Which I think helped immeasurably, and I kind of didn't realise how much of a difference that would make until we actually had that.
Having it all on one floor? Yeah.
Not to mention the space. I mean, on the floor plan side of things, we had as much space as we had at Ascot, but in reality, the problem we had with Ascot was all the
bits
clutter
that weren't used. Yeah.
We had so much space that we either couldn't use, or because it was like stepped seating and all the other sort of stuff, we just didn't. We didn't have this. We didn't have the space. So it was good to have everyone on one floor and be able to walk all the way through it. If everything that we've spoken to people over the weekend comes ahead next year, we're going to fill that space. Even the entryway that we kind of closed off this year.
Yeah.
We'll actually be having to move the entry door to the far end, and then
at the far end.
Put some more banners up outside, and then we're going to need all that space. The workshops went pretty well. The spaces were good. The lighting was good. We had a whole bunch of... We went and invested a bunch of money in LED desk lights and stuff for half the painting workshops. We'll probably have to go and get the second half this year. Or for next year, I should say.
Yeah. So with that, should I share some of the ideas that I've got for throughout the year, or should I keep my mouth shut just in case they don't come ahead?
We'll just keep talking about some of the stuff we've done for show this year and some of the ideas we might have for next year.
Okay, so you'd like me to not share about the hobby workshops that I want to run once a month?
So with Emma now off taking more photos and us being dragged back and forth, this podcast recording is being real interesting. But I'm joined by Albany local, Mark Houth. How you going?
G'day, how are you?
So for those listening at home, post-event, it's about a 4.5 hour drive to the venue.
4 hours.
4.5 hours legally.
Well, it's armoured hours, 4 hours.
Yeah. So you guys are coming up for the weekend to play 40k?
Yep, came up Friday morning, drinking, shopping, more drinking.
Bit of wife time prior to the event?
Yep.
And then you're here all day today and tomorrow?
Yep.
So you're playing doubles tomorrow?
Yep.
So it's a full weekend of 40k?
Yes. That's the best way to spend it.
So you guys came up to the first year of show?
Yes.
Couldn't make it last year?
No.
And then obviously returned for 2019. How has this year been different to the first year?
This is much better. The layout feels way more convention-y.
Awesome.
And it just, it doesn't have that, I don't know what the word is. Everything just feels more joined together. Like,
yeah,
you walk in the door and everything's there. It's all over the place.
That was certainly one of the biggest hurdles we had with the past venue, in that we had those split floors and it never really worked, and whoever you put on the second floor inevitably kind of was out of the process. So we're really pleased to be able to move to the Royal Showgrounds this year in Claremont, because it does give us that full floor access.
And public transport's much better.
Yeah, so the trains have been running from, I think it's 8:15 to 5:45 each day, which is awesome. So you guys are staying in an Airbnb, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, what, 10 minutes, 15 minutes?
Yeah, 10 minutes.
Yeah. And family friendly. I mean, you've left the little one at home, but
Lynn's first break for more than one night.
Yep.
I've had a few different trips up for Warhammer.
Yep. And look, I mean, part of what we've tried to do with OBSEC over the last couple of years in particular is integrate the remote gaming community, which, let's face it, Albany's a 4-hour drive for most of our hobbyists. And one of the reasons we wanted to start doing Linebreaker is to bring the Perth community to Albany.
Yep.
And what's been really good to see is that while we started doing that, we've actually had Albany guys like yourself and Marcus and some of the other boys making the drive up. And I think that's been really good, because now the hesitancy of going to any of these sort of major events is gone, because when you walk in the room, the guys know you.
Yeah, well, I have a current running blood grudge match with Alex Daniford at nearly every event. I'm currently 3-0 again.
So what you're saying is I have to match you for the final round today? I can see what I can do. No, look, I mean, that's part of the community we wanted to develop, though, is have it so that, you can't get to every event in Perth. We know that.
Yeah.
And by the same token, our boys, they'll get 1 or maybe 2 events in Albany a year. And we certainly hope that we try and get more trips down, because it looks to me like the Albany community is really amping up what's going on.
We found, since Elangel's opened up, and has a big floor space and all that now, it's really brought, there was a couple of different fractured groups and all that, and it kind of compiled them all together now.
Oh, that's awesome.
Gilly's been running a couple of little tournaments in Albany, incorporating his Denmark friends who never really play competitively. They always play power level and all that. So we did a small 1,000 points thing. We're using a semi-competitive format, and they really loved it. So a few of them have been coming in for our monthly meetups now.
Oh, awesome.
But yeah, so we've actually, if we actually really organise, we have probably 12 to 14 people rock up.
So that's fantastic. I mean, Albany is remote, essentially, and it's not uncommon for Perth tournaments to have 16 to 20 players. So when you can get that sort of similar number happening in a remote community, and then you factor in, if we can get 10 of those 14 coming, and then we bring Linebreaker down and we bring down another 20.
Yeah. We're going to need a bigger venue.
Yeah, we do need a bigger venue. That's one of the reasons we've kind of put Linebreaker off for 2019, is trying to figure out the best way to incorporate. Right. So the venue in question we have been using is a scout hall, sort of located 10 minutes outside of town.
Yeah.
And the venue has dorms where everyone can stay, because we've traditionally gone down the day before the tournament, everyone's hung out and had dinner, play the tournament on the next day, and then everyone's driven home the day after when they've had some sleep and slept off any unnecessary byproducts that may have occurred the night before. And the venue has a lovely sort of meeting hall, but it's not the biggest.
Yeah.
And the other hall, which we've never had to use yet, is a bit questionable in its appearance and has some pretty unwanted nicknames, I suspect. But the good part about that venue is it does keep the costs down for everyone. You can stay if you want to. Obviously, with you guys in Albany, you probably don't stay. But
we have done usually one night. Like most everyone I've been to so far, I've stayed one night or.
Well, the social aspect of it means it's pretty good to be able to stay if you want to. And obviously, one of the advantages for you guys coming up for this sort of event is you can get, like you say, get an Uber or public transport and get back to where you're staying, and you can enjoy yourselves throughout the day because we do license a section of the venue whenever we run our events, wherever possible.
It's very good.
So yeah, it's great to have some of the Albany. Marcus has come up with you as well.
Yeah, Marcus is here. He's playing his towel.
Again.
As always.
Yep, but he does well with them, and I don't know how he's going at the moment. I haven't checked the results so far. But, it's great to have you guys come up, and hopefully we can line Linebreaker up for September. There's the plan at the moment, 2019.
We got September's going to be a very busy... August, September are going to be very busy, because we've got War on the Wasteland, the Sam's 30k event.
Yep, we want to try and make it at least sort of 3 or 4 weeks post that to give everyone a break.
After that, it's WATC, and we're bringing a team up for that.
Oh, wow. I forgot WATC was after that. So
weekend after that. So we're bringing this... Me, Gilly, Marcus, Shep, Skip, and Patrick.
Oh,
coming up for that. We have a pretty big mix of.
That'll be our first 2-day WATC as well.
Yeah.
And that ticket, obviously, with Marcus on the patron page and yourself, it's meant that the tickets are already secured. We haven't even released those to the public yet. They go on sale 5th. So by the time you hear this, they'll have been on sale, and they may be sold out. Who knows?
Yeah.
We've only got 9 spots to the public, 9 teams, and I've got a bunch of people.
There's a list.
Like very, very edgy about missing out this year because we've reduced the team count.
Yeah.
Last year we allowed 20 teams of 6, and this year we're only allowing 14, and that's partly due to venue size. We've had to change the venue, but it's also to do with it's a 2-day event.
Yeah.
And we wanted to be able to manage it appropriately. So.
And then so then it's what 3 or 4 weeks.
We'll probably go 4 weeks.
Yeah.
After WATC.
It's a lot of Warhammer.
Yeah, it is. But that's not necessarily a bad thing.
No, it's not. But yeah, it's mostly in Albany. It's mostly 40k.
But I mean, part of it though, and certainly for me, when we do Linebreaker and when we see the team stuff, it is it's a Warhammer tournament. You can't get away from that. But it's not always about the Warhammer. It's about the team environment. It's about the social side of things. And obviously, there is a little bit of alcohol consumed at a lot of these events. But the point of it is, though, there's 6 of you who are going to work together, put a team together, you're going to practice games together, you're going to talk smack at each other, you're going to talk smack at the Perth teams.
Yeah.
And at the end of day one, you're going to go away together, you're going to go out for dinner and have drinks, and probably with some other Perth boys.
Yeah,
it's going to be a fun night out. Everyone's going to have a good time. We're going to play a few more games the next day. Whether you drive home that night or whether you stay another night, who knows? And
got to work all the logistics out yet.
Yeah, but that whole process of camaraderie and community, because you guys are part of the Perth community.
Yeah.
And the team events are the things that I love the most because you do get to go away as a group and you commiserate and celebrate together.
Yeah, that's it.
So it's great to have Albany players come to Perth, and we always love going to Linebreaker. It's one of our favourite events of the year.
Gilly, Marcus, and myself are trying to make. We've come up for a few events.
Yeah.
Since November, me and Marcus did Masters and. We all did First Blood.
Yep, which was awesome.
And all that, which was really funny because on the way out, Marcus and Gilly are all like, "Oh yeah, we're coming to hell competitively," and I'm like, "Yeah, I brought a fun list because I did that crazy Bjorn conversion." So
that was a great model.
Wanted to use that and all that, and I ended up placing higher than both of them.
Well, look, man, I'm gonna let you go because we're gonna get ready for the next rounds. Thanks very much for chatting.
No worries.
And we'll see you. At worst case, we're going to see you at WATC in a couple of months' time. But good luck with the rest of today.
Will do. Cheers. Thanks for putting the event on.
Yeah, let's leave that for now until you've had that conversation with me.
Let's not share that, okay? I did have that conversation with you.
When?
Half an hour ago.
It doesn't count. I was still trying to get this bloody laptop running.
I had that conversation with you half an hour ago before I had the other brilliant brainwave of an idea that we had a massive conversation about.
Look, the Interclub can wait. Let's move on.
I'm excited about the Interclub idea.
Anyway, show. So
this all came out of show.
It did.
And I'd like to, just in case he's listening, I'd like to put a big shout out to, I think it's Chris Von Pickles.
Yes. He was awesome all weekend. He came and said hello and he hung out and he wandered through the tables. And
well, anyway, so he happened to mention at show next year doing an interclub demo table. Now, from that, I've taken it and turned it into a massive idea. So hopefully we'll be able to pull that off and we'll get that happening, I'm hoping, in October.
What's been really funny for me is...
He's quickly changing the subject.
Over the weekend, I had so many people that I either hadn't seen in years...
Oh, talk about Kid in a Candy Store. Oh, that's such and such. Oh, I've got to go say hello to him.
But I also had people coming up and tapping me on the shoulder and introducing themselves who clearly know us. And I've either never met them in person or haven't seen them in a long time, or maybe saw them at last year and haven't seen them since.
Yeah.
And I noticed that happening. It wasn't just me. It was happening all around the room with people wandering in.
And making those connections.
And sort of meeting people and going, oh, I haven't seen you in a year. Literally, or maybe not a year because it was September.
It's 9 months, yeah.
But, they're catching up at show once a year with people who are outside of their usual hangout circle, but they might have played an RPG last year and made some friends on the table. And it's like, oh, cool, let's go and play Numenera again. Or, whatever that happened to be.
Now, with that, I will just add that one of the issues that I had when people came up and started talking to me was... I had no idea who they were. They knew who I was because our face is all over.
And our voices and...
Yeah. So, and obviously, I was wearing a bright orange T-shirt and stood out. But I didn't know who they were because when people have a profile picture of a dog or a skull or a hallway...
Well, at least my profile picture now, it's still got my face in it despite me wearing power armor.
Well, I can't say much because my profile picture is a picture of us in snow
full ski masks in the middle of the Arctic Circle.
Yes, it is. So I know I shouldn't say that because I'm not practicing what I preach. But what my plan is for next, what's the month that's before June? May. I think everyone should change their profile picture to a picture of their face. So when you come to show, everyone can recognise each other. Because we've all been talking to a dog for the last 6 months, and you don't look like that. Well, you don't look like
it certainly makes our lives
devil
easier.
Skull. So.
Because there are some people you only see once a year at show, or maybe twice or 3 times. I mean, the boys in Albany who came up, we saw once in a year, and now we're seeing them 3 or 4 times a year.
Yeah.
I had another idea for show which I haven't shared with you yet, so I'm going to share that now.
Awesome. But I may veto it and just say no flat out.
Well, no, this is a good idea.
It's a good idea. All right.
So you're not going to veto it. And it was Chris, who you mentioned just a moment ago, that gave me the idea.
Oh, so he's getting more blame.
Yep.
I mean, yeah.
So he made a comment on our Facebook page going, the show bags were amazing.
Oh, yes.
And that got me thinking, maybe we can do not just the VIP show bag, but actual show bags. So rather than having the expensive bag and the VIP ticket and all the rest of it, we do a gamers like a tabletop essentials bag.
Having said that, sorry, just for the show bag, while we do include the 3-day pass in it, that's like an added bonus.
Yeah, because it's all the merch and all the donations that we get from the different vendors and that sort of thing. No, what I was thinking is we could do like a $25 or $30 like a plastic branded show bag like you would get at the Royal Show.
Yeah.
And you can do a tabletop essentials with like...
Does that include Bertie Beetles, Panadol, Band-Aids, deodorant?
Yes, we can put some of that stuff in there.
Because I think that's a great idea.
But also like... So we could do an RPG one, a tabletop one, and the RPG one you get the dice and the dice bag. The tabletop one you get the different dice and the dice bag, and you might get the measuring stick.
Yeah. Can I just share it different?
Like a little notepad and pen for the RPG one, that sort of... Do up some like a little essentials bag. And then we could even do a painter's essentials bag and speak to the awesome guys at SMS or some of those to try and get like a brush and that sort of thing. And so that way you can come in and go, cool, I want to get this cool bag of stuff. Yes, there'll be some OBSEC branded stuff in there because it's our event.
We're OBSEC and we want to get our name out there, and this is one of the ways we're doing it.
It'll also give us an opportunity to give you stuff for the specific parts of the con that you're interested in. Like we could really do some cool show bags that a normal attendees only coming in for a day or so can actually come and get some souvenirs for the day of the stuff that they're interested in the most without having to buy the VIP bag, which includes a whole bunch of stuff from the whole experience plus freebies.
Plus the awesome bag. Okay, 2 things I want to share. The first one is what I thought was an amusing story. So she
didn't veto it, everyone, so it's going ahead.
Oh, no, I think it's a good idea.
Awesome.
You're right. It was good. I'll give you a gold star for that. Well done.
So thank you very much to Chris for giving me that idea.
So
That's what happens
by
when it's
mentioning showbag.
When it's 11 o'clock at night and I'm still
So that
messing
needs
about
to
with
be
stuff.
written down because we'll forget.
I've already got it in my head. It's fine.
Oh my God, it's so not enough. So anyway, my story. So we had amazing volunteers who were helping out in different elements of the event. And at one point, my mum and our youngest daughter was working on the OBSEC booth, and while our volunteer for the OBSEC booth was off
Having lunch.
And so this guy came over to buy one of the hobby knife sets that we had for sale.
Yep.
And so he went to get it, and he showed Mum his driver's license, and like the look on Mum's face of, I'm not selling you liquor. Like, why are you giving me your driver's license? You can't pay with a driver's license. What's going on? And I was like, he's showing you that he's over 16 because you have to be. But just this look on her face of, why is he giving me his driver's license? But yeah, we were making sure that people were over the age of 16 in order to buy hobby knives and that kind of thing. But the other thing that I was going to say is we had food trucks outside.
Yeah.
And what they were saying was what they have never experienced at events before is having the same people 3 days in a row going up and buying food. And the train people said the same thing. Unless, it's the people who have got the layouts there, they don't get people going more than once. You go for an hour and then go home.
Yeah.
Whereas our attendees are coming for 6 hours or 12 hours or 14 hours.
Or 3 days.
And they're coming all 3 days.
Yeah.
And the ones who can't come all 3 days are disappointed because they have to miss one of the days in there and that kind of thing.
Oh, look, there were definitely some who missed out due to work or family commitments or weddings or birthdays or whatever. And there are some who they bought a 3-day pass, they bought the VIP bag, played a tournament on one day and then skipped a day.
Yeah.
And I said to them, why didn't you just come that day? And they went, I was knackered from the tournament the day before.
Yeah, there is that.
And they'd intended to come and then
decided
slept in and couldn't do it. And then I said, well, that's a bit of a shame. It's like, no, I still got the bag. I'm still here the third day. I still get to do this and that.
But then there were other people who wanted the bag but had no intention of actually coming all 3 days, but had such a great time at the first day and saw so much that they ended up coming back on the second day and bringing their whole family and then coming back on the third day for the swap meet.
Yeah.
So
the swap meet was really good, actually. Everyone seemed very happy with that. I'm just disappointed. There was stuff on that table I wanted to buy and then it got packed up and I was too busy doing other things to buy it.
Oh, I'm devastated.
You bought from it before I did.
Yeah, I got first pick on everything. Actually, that's not true. I did get first pick on that stuff because, the swap meet hadn't actually started yet. And I saw the person who was going to sell it and I was like, oh, how much do you want for that? And so I bought it before the swap meet started. But then...
Benefits of being the organiser.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what we had 3 amazing volunteers on the swap meet. And I had thought that I was going to have to be on there helping out and, making sure it all ran smoothly. But
no, that was Steve,
Mark, and Marcus.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they were brilliant. And, and I gave them the kind of rundown on how to do it. It wasn't rocket science in any way, shape, or
they're
form.
3 very smart guys.
Yeah, that's it. So they had it and they ran with it. But that's what they were saying. Like, it's great. We get first dibs on everything. Yeah. And Steve was saying, I'm still up by $10. I've sold more than I've bought. I don't know whether he finished up $10 up, but yeah.
No, and I saw the pile at the start, and then I reckon we got rid of 3/4 of it for the people who put it in.
Well, it's very hard to know because that pile kept getting replenished.
Bigger, yeah, that's true.
So when we were setting up for the swap meet, because we didn't. We're using Humanitics for our event ticketing system, and there's a couple of reasons for that. One is that with 20 different events over 16 different game systems, there is no way that we can manage the ticketing by ourselves. So we can't do it through PayPal. We need to use a ticketing system. And the first year we used Eventbrite. And then last year I found out about a ticketing system called Humanitics, and Humanitics charge the same amount as Eventbrite, but what they do is they take a percentage of that fee and they donate it to a charity. And as I run a charity, I got them to list our charity, and so basically a percentage of all the fees that came in through the tournament tickets did go towards that charity. So we've managed to raise some money which has gone towards women's health and wellbeing services. which is a mental health service in the south. Well, it's a mental health service in Gosnells, and despite the name, we do actually support families. So mental health is something that we're really passionate about, and it's one of the reasons that we are passionate about running events, because the social networking that gaming actually creates is so positive for people's mental health. And being able to create those support systems is really important. So I guess the fact that we're supporting a mental health service, despite the fact it's called Women's Health and Wellbeing, and 99.9% of our attendees are male, we don't really see that that's necessarily an issue because we support people. So so thank you very much to everyone who did buy a ticket, because part proceeds did go to via Humanitics to Women's Health and Wellbeing Service, and we did have a little booth here for Women's Health and Wellbeing over the weekend as well, to be able to share about that. Mark and I had been debating it for quite some time, and it didn't get advertised and promoted, and a week before the event, Mark's going, well, look, we're just going to have to not do it this year. And I'm saying we're doing it this year.
Part of that problem was trying to make sure the format was correct, because we've seen it done at other events locally and internationally, or interstate even, and having it as a traditional swap meet where everyone comes and gives $5 or whatever it is to have a table to sell stuff at, when you're already paying entry to the con, is a bit weird. But also, no.
Yeah.
What I was about to say, though, is on top of that, it means that anyone who's playing at an organised play event can't sell anything, or if you're at a workshop, you can't sell anything. At the very least, we wanted to make sure that those people, if they had stuff to sell, then they had an opportunity to make that money and sell what they wanted to sell.
Yeah.
The only thing I want to do next year is make it over 3 days.
Oh, see, I don't know. I'm still not sure about
because part of
that.
the feedback I've had was that some of the guys would have dropped the prices on a couple of those products if they hadn't sold in one day. So whether it needs to be a 2-day thing.
The reason that I liked it being on the Monday is because Monday is traditionally our slower day.
Yeah, but if I change things around the way I've got in my head, which I haven't talked to you about yet either.
Okay, awesome.
That's what happens when you record the day after you finish unpacking.
That's it. So we bumped out yesterday from 7 a.m. through to 5-ish yesterday. And so...
Well, I was still unpacking after you fell asleep last night.
Yeah, our living room is basically show. So it's floor to ceiling
well, to be fair, it doesn't
boxes.
have the Craigs and Outpost stuff. We delivered that back yesterday.
Yeah, no, but it's floor to ceiling of our boxes. There's all the boards are still in the back of the trailer. But there's boxes of all of the merchandise and all of the equipment so it's full. So we haven't unpacked that yet. And we haven't had a chance to unpack our brains and kind of go through what worked really well and what didn't. So
yeah.
And we're recording before we've had a chance to do that.
Which is fine.
Because it's
fine. It allows us to share some of the other stuff that you might not have seen and heard and felt over the weekend.
Plus also, if we do it on this, then we've got some kind of
written record. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's, the bump in went pretty well, all things considered.
Yeah.
We had a bunch of volunteers turn up on that day, which was very, very appreciated and awesome. We had, I think I ended up running 3 tournaments a day. I think it was 2 or 3 a day rather than last year's abomination of 6 or 7.
Mm.
And the people I spoke to about our ideas for 2020 and managing those tournaments were really keen on those ideas in terms of getting more heavily involved in show in their game system, which will obviously take some pressure off for me running 3 or 4 systems and running around like a headless chook.
Mm.
But at the same time...
I think what we learnt, and part of those conversations, is that we can't... When we started show, the intention was to try and create an event that was inclusive of as many gamers as physically possible.
Yeah.
But we actually need investment from those different game systems to be a part of it.
Yep.
So we need community members from those different game systems to actually champion it for us, because...
We can't learn every game and we can't be involved and invested in every of those systems.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work. And don't get me wrong, the communities that I ran stuff for, so for the Malifaux community, for War Machine... Underworlds we have to run ourselves for the Grand Clash as part of the agreement that we have, so I'll always be running something on one of the days if we continue with Grand Clashes.
Yeah.
It's not an if so much as a will they let us.
Yeah.
But
I can't see them saying, no, you can't do it again.
No, I can't either, but you have to say if and when rather than will.
Mm-hmm.
like the War Machine guys, for example, lovely group of guys, really relaxed.
Well, most of them. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking.
Now, I guinea pigged them over the weekend to try out a new version of Down Under Pairings specifically for War Machine and Hordes, and we highlighted some issues in the software that didn't do what they needed to do.
Awesome.
But we made the software work for us on the weekend, and we got the results that we expected, and we checked it all, and I sat there with the community each round and went, okay, these are the scores I've got. This is what I think we need. Does all this sound right? Yep. Are the pairings? Does this? Yep. And we still got it out. We still got all the awards done. Everyone had a good time. And at the end of it, I pulled aside Earl, who's been a very sort of vocal and supportive member of the War Machine community, and said to him, hey, look, we want War Machine to grow. I can't be active in that community like you guys are. Would you be interested in stepping up and being more heavily involved in running the War Machine tournaments for show? And he was keen on that. And the group of them around him badgered him until he said yes. So,
oh, nice! Nothing like a bit of peer pressure, and beautiful.
So, and that's the sort of stuff we like. The guys who are so active in those communities, who are passionate about those games, if we can get them champion it, give them the support they need, and give them the, I can't even think of the right word.
Forum. Let's go with that. To be able to run and showcase
support,
their events.
It's kind of support, but it's not the right word.
That's okay. We'll just keep moving.
Yeah. Then hopefully we'll see those games grow, and we'll just spread the games out. I mean, I think we got it better this year than we have in previous years in terms of games each day, to try and make sure.
Monday was quiet. We need more games happening on the Monday.
Well, Monday, we did have to cancel a couple of games this year for numbers. The games that got cancelled, one was a little bit it was added fairly late in the process and then didn't get off the ground before the event. One was cancelled 2 days or 3 days out, just because, again, the community that play that game had already played for 2 days straight and weren't going to come back for the third day for a number of different reasons. So we're going to roll one of those systems into the other for next year, which I think will work really well because it'll feature that game until it can stand on its own. We still had 90, I think I worked out to be 90 players on day 3.
Yeah, but when you've got 90 players and 70 of them are playing in doubles events, it's quite sparse.
Yeah, and that was, I suppose, the thing is that it looked emptier because of the way the tables were laid out. It wasn't that there were less people, it was just they were more confined to a smaller space. But, we probably did just shy of 100 day 1. It was like 130 or something on day 2, and just shy of 100 day 3 in terms of the tournaments section. It was around 100 each. Saturday and Monday, and then it was 130 or something on the other one. So it was comparable to the prior year. The only difference was the ATC, which we had on the Saturday and Sunday. And the bids for 2020 start very shortly, so it probably won't be 2020, but maybe 2021 we'll try and have it back in Perth.
We're more than happy to host it for 2020, but since we only had it last year and it does need to move around the country, it seems a bit rude of us to bid for it again.
But, so there's opportunities there. If we wanted to host the national 40k Masters or some of the other big events from around the country, was certainly an opportunity for us to host them at show. But moving away from the tournaments, it was great to have the clubs there this year. I think the space mostly worked, although I've got some ideas on how we can change how we space those clubs out next year to give them a better facing and give them a bit more ability to interact and make them more visible. That was one of the key things.
Yeah, I think because we do have more space, and hopefully obviously there are a few things in the pipeline for next year already, but one of the things that I guess I was talking to a couple of clubs about is whether or not there can be more spectacles run. So obviously Lev had his big display there, which
the big
was
bolt action table,
really eye-catching. And so there is, with the space that we've got at the moment, there is the opportunity for clubs to be able to do something like that. I know Stanley, who's part of the NWS club, but he would be doing it independently of them. he's already planning his 2020 spectacle that he's going to put on.
Well, I was talking to the Ninth Age guys who came in to just check things out and hang out, and they wanted to have a space to do some demos of Ninth Age fantasy battles. And they were talking about that big spectacle type table with all the big cool armies and all the rest of it. And I said, but there's 2 of you. Do a 6x4 and then do 2 2x4s.
Yeah.
And do the 2x4s as interactives.
Yeah.
And do a unit and a character versus unit and a character on one. And then do something cool like a dragon versus a unit of cavalry on the other. So that, you know, if you're interested in playing it, you want to know the game system, or just for the younger audience who are just getting into wargaming, putting on that huge big table of all these awesome models looks great, but is super intimidating.
That's so funny. I literally just wrote that same thing last night.
Oh, there you go.
When I was talking about the bolt action thing that we had. You know, Lev's display was amazing, but it doesn't look like, as somebody who's brand new to the game, you don't walk in and go, oh yeah, no, I could totally do that.
I couldn't do that.
No, that's it.
Absolutely no way.
It looks way too intimidating and way too, fantastic, but way too resource heavy, finance heavy, space heavy.
Yeah.
Like, there's just no way. And yet, the small intro games that were being run by some of the clubs, well, they seem doable.
Yeah.
And the terrain that was on some of the smaller clubs' tables was great, and still probably out of my reach, but with some work, I could probably manage that. Lev's table, I'm never going to manage.
No.
But it's awesome to look at.
Yeah, and,
so
and that's what I was...
that balance as well.
And that's what I was saying to the guys, is that if they did 2 easier intro-type games, so that they weren't mass combat games, and then had a mass combat game going between the 2 of them with all their cool armies. So
or between multiple, that people can jump in and jump out of if you used to play fantasy.
Yeah, and if it's just the 2 demo guys playing, then they get to play a game, show off all the cool stuff. When someone walks up, you go, oh, we're going to pause our game.
Yeah.
Do you want to have a go?
Yeah.
You can either be the knights or you can be the dragon, or you can, that sort of thing. And they really liked that idea. And I think that's a great way to show off those sorts of smaller game systems where you put on the spectacle, but you have something simple that will let someone play it without having to go, oh my god, I have to learn 20 different units and 3 characters with 4 spells and know what my dragon does and how it breathes fire and
all the money that goes into it.
I think something showy is great, but something like if
hands-on and practical. And that's what I loved about it, was that we had so much that was hands-on. People could actually get in there and play.
I think also, as bizarre as this is going to sound, we need a sign, because we had our rights and responsibilities at the front door this year. We need another one beside it that says, if you see or hear a game being played in the public area and you're interested in trying it, ask the person running it.
Yeah.
Because we had a lot of people, they've just come from the Model Train Expo.
Where you're not allowed to touch anything.
You don't touch. And they weren't realising that they could actually play the games, that apart from the tournaments, obviously, that they could actually go and play and interact and do these games. And so our volunteers and the clubs did their best to, talk to people and kind of say, hey, do you want to turn? But I think having that at the front door going, if you see a game that you want to play, board game, role-playing, tabletop or otherwise, ask. Our volunteers are here to help you learn these games and enjoy your time playing them. And I think that making that abundantly clear as you come in is important.
We really should be doing this where I have a notebook next to me, because at the moment I'm writing on the back of business cards. So I've just written that we need 2 more banners. One basically that says ask to play.
Yep.
And hopefully that little note will trigger one of our memories to work it out. And the other one that says tournament area, you're welcome to watch, but please don't interrupt.
Yep.
And
that you're right. That's the second part of that whole equation is, this part of the room, no.
I don't like the term tournament, so maybe it has to be event area. But
organised play.
Okay.
Rather than tournament, because there
The thing is that, I guess for people who aren't gamers, people know what a tournament is, whereas event and organised play...
Just put tournament and organised play, and that covers everything. Anyway, there's another piece of stuff that we can go back and listen to at a later date.
Well, no, I've written it on the back of a business card.
We totally won't lose that 66 millimeter business card.
Well, as soon as we get off this, we're going to find the box that's got my blue book in that I'm writing my notes in. And tomorrow we're going through each of these 26 tabs on my event book to work out what went well, what needs to be improved, where there's areas for... And add another 12 tabs.
I had Emma from OTP Terrain say she needed a bigger booth next year.
Oh, most of them said they need a bigger booth next year. OTP Terrain, Alpha Strike need a bigger booth. So,
well, it's funny because we've also seeing what Alpha Strike did this year in terms of their merchandising with the racking and stuff. Talking to a couple of the other people, they were keen on having that, but didn't kind of know what to do with it. So that's something that we need to offer as an option for our booths, so that if they want us to supply all the racking and stuff, so that the attendees can actually see what's on offer, then that's something that we need to consider. I mean, we brought shelves and stuff for our gear, but Alpha Strike's display was amazing.
Alpha Strike's display was amazing. We do need to talk to them about where they got that from, because we've got so much storage space at our house for us to be able to store that, but still.
So there's, I don't know, this conversation's meandering a little bit, but this is kind of the unpacking process that we go through for show, because the only advantage, of course, with doing it this way is that we actually get it all recorded and...
Oh, we're not really going into depth. I think we're just kind of just having... I think this is kind of the conversations that we have. It's not our full-on analysing... I can't even think of the word. What is it called? Qualitative, quantitative... No, that's not it.
The debrief just isn't in-depth.
So...
I think the media area worked pretty well. I've got some ideas on how to make the RPG area a bit more laid out.
I think that an area that I want to really work on for next year is the CCGs and board games.
Yep.
I think we're not doing enough with those, so we do really need to be focusing on those for next year.
So yeah, we'll reach out into... I'd love to have Magic the Gathering and Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And all of those collectible card games. Yeah,
we had Alex who was there, who was helping out with some of the board game stuff, so I'm going to see if I can chat to him about some ideas and suggestions he might have. And then I've already been reaching out and talking to the Board Game Collective and those people about how we can...
And then also engaging retailers to make sure that if you play a board game and you want to buy it,
yeah,
it's available to buy at the show.
Yeah, that's it. So I did notice that, because we obviously took our entire board game collection down there so people could trial them.
It's about 60 or 70 games.
And then Alex had some of his there as well. So, so we had, for example, we had Catan down there that people could try, but there was no link to say, actually, if you enjoy this game, Tactics is selling it today.
Yeah.
So we need somehow to kind of work out what are we going to have, and which do any of the retailers actually have that available.
Well, that's it. I mean, we had Fury of Dracula there, which is out of print and has been for 18 months. There's no point in having that there with a sign on it saying buy it from here when you physically can't buy it anymore.
No, but it's still cool for people to be able to actually try that and...
Oh yeah, it's a good game, but it's also a complex big box game, and you really need someone there to walk you through it. So we need to kind of
having some volunteers who can walk people through those games and who can play the Dracula, or, well, not necessarily, because that's kind of one of the fun roles that I'm never allowed to play.
No, because I like Dracula.
Yeah. We had people playing Zombicide quite a bit over. That seemed to be a really popular game over the weekend.
But we've played that with adult friends before who are reasonably experienced board game players, and we struggled when we first started playing that game. It took a little while to wrap our heads around how Zombicide worked because the rules weren't 100% clear.
Yeah.
I had someone ask me over the weekend if I could paint Zombicide for next year so it'd look nicer, and I went, "There's 100 freaking models in that."
We had
probably not happening.
We had intended when we first. We'll give them to our son. He can paint them.
Well, the new contrast paints are out soon, so maybe
he
that'll
doesn't
help.
Necessarily need the new contrast paints, but he can still paint them. We'll give him something to paint.
He's got enough Marines since you bought him more, and I bought him more without telling you. So
awesome. I at least told you I bought them straight away. I was going to say we should communicate better. You should communicate better.
Well, look, when you get offered these things from Beyond Games and Hobby, when Matt came up on day one, he said, "Lyle, I've got this stuff. Are you interested?" I said, "Yeah, I'll have that, and that, and Lachlan can have that bit."
Oh, right. So you didn't get some stuff for him. You got some stuff for you, and you thought you'd get away with it more if you
by
said
giving some to him. Yeah.
Nice.
He's excited. I went through it with him last night and showed him the kits, and the idea of a man with an autocannon and a jump pack really appeals to him, whereas it's not part of my plan. So he's going to take the autocannons, I'm going to take the plasma guns, and everyone's going to be happy.
Right, except for me.
No. Well, it's too late now.
I'm just kidding. All right.
So, yeah, we'd be keen to talk. Like, we're going to have a decompress and have a little bit of a break, and then
I'm sliding further and further down. I think I'm going to have a sleep. We can decompress and have a break later.
So yeah, the goal is to kind of hit July with a planning stage, and then give some authority. Is that the right word? To some of the members of the communities on our behalf to kind of go, this is the plan for 2020.
Yeah,
give them authority is not the word my brain is reaching for, but it's a similar sort of word in that we want to give people the control,
autonomy. How's that?
That's a better word. Autonomous support, so that they can reach into their communities and try and
rally some support.
But it's even just sharing our vision for the event, and that's something that I kind of mentioned earlier. Is that every time someone comes to the event, they don't get it until they're there.
Yeah,
and then they get it. And like I was talking to, again, some new faces on the weekend, and they said, we thought it'd be like Supernova where you paid to come in and you just had to buy stuff and pay all this money to go and see celebrities. And I said to them, no, it's about coming and playing games.
Yeah.
And being part of that community. And obviously we're going to have to expand that statement because the Gunpler's grown year on year, and that's about modelling and hobby. And then if we start throwing cosplay in, that's about modelling and hobby, but in a different format.
Oh, yeah.
So it's about being part of the.
How do you even define it?
Until this year, it was still about the game, but that's not even fair in Little Robot and the Gunpla community, because it wasn't about the game for them; it was about the hobby.
Yeah.
But the hobby doesn't reference. We know what saying we're part of the hobby community means, but to someone else who's not part of our community, hobby isn't a noun.
No, that's it.
It's not a verb, it's an adjective.
It is an adjective.
So when we talk about the hobby, we're talking about our community, and that doesn't mean anything to anyone outside of the community. So it's about how we convey that to the public, because ultimately where the new faces of the gaming are going to come from is the public. So I've just done gaming again, and that's not fair on everything that goes into it. But
my brain has kind of gone with I don't know how to define this, and how do you promote something when you don't have a clear definition? And
that's it. If we continue to expand into scale models, and it's not just about scale models at that point. It's there's so many facets of what we want the event to show, and at some point
at the same time, we don't want it to turn into Supernova or just all. I don't use this word I use this word in kind of a colloquialism, but I don't want it just to turn into a nerd culture event.
Yeah, we certainly. I mean, Supernova as a pop culture convention is a great convention. Unfortunately, Comic-Con's not in Perth anymore. But those events are pop culture events, and we're not about pop culture. And by the same token, SwanCon and GenghisCon don't do what we do. They do different. Like we have a more miniatures and that sort of focus, whereas they tend to sit on the other side of the community. And WASMEX does something different to us as well.
Yeah.
And the Model Train Association of WA does something different to us as well. So,
but we don't do, they all have very clear definitions. Model Trains is all about the trains.
Yeah.
WASMEX is all about the miniatures.
Yeah, West Australian Scale Model Expo. Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry. It helps if we share what those acronyms are.
WASMEX means, yeah.
What was the other one that you mentioned? You mentioned another one.
GenghisCon and SwanCon. They focus on, they do LARP stuff, they do a whole bunch of RPGs, they do it's another facet of stuff that we don't explore.
Yeah.
And it's good because it gives us all the opportunity to do different things, and still cater to parts of our community. I think it was GenghisCon. Maybe I don't remember which one it was now, but they did a box wars, where everyone got dressed up in cardboard armor and boxes and bashed each other and blew up castles with cardboard weapons in the courtyard of one of the universities. Now that sounds like a bunch of fun to me.
I was going to say that does sound like fun.
And Nerf wars and those sorts of things.
Nerf wars doesn't sound like much fun to me, but still.
So, there'd be nothing stopping us doing box wars and that sort of thing, but that requires a lot of planning, a lot of OH&S, a lot of insurance, and all it takes is for you to put it out there and go, oh, okay, this is the space we got. We're expecting 20 players and 400 turn up. You suddenly have some issues.
Yeah.
So, and this is all the stuff that we have to consider when we start incorporating new stuff into the event. So
Pile is here from Alpha Strike as well. So they came last year, and last year they were running some demo games and playing in some games. This year they've got a booth here. So Pile, thank you very much for being part of Show 20. What year are we in? 2019. It has been a long week. You might just step that way. Cool. So who are Alpha Strike?
Well, first of all, it's really, really great to be here. I was thinking yesterday how awesome it is that there is someone who's organizing this sort of event in Perth, because I think it's very needy, and it's we very much appreciate that you're doing this. And Alpha Strike is a Perth-based games and hobby shop, which was started by my husband Adam, and I sort of jumped on board later on. I get away with a lot of smiles and nodding because my knowledge is not as deep with all the games. But anything tabletop, pretty much, we carry, and mostly online. And people keep asking when we open our actual shop. We say when it's the right time.
Yeah.
We're waiting for it. It's coming.
Yes. Yeah. And so you've got, so as well as having your, I guess, a range of products here today for Alpha Strike, which is fantastic to have, I guess that was hobby supplies available, but you're also running demo games. Well, you're not running demo games, but Alpha Strike is running demo games. So we've got Ted running Song of Fire and Ice, Ice and Fire, Song of Ice and Fire, which is the Game of Thrones inspired game. And then Adam's running Battletech. Thank you. Sorry.
The new box set, the beginner one, which is a simpler one to get into a little bit. So explaining that one over there. Yeah. But otherwise, the game is so big. I think there's around 500 different products or something like that.
Yeah, well, so I actually thought that you only stocked Cool Mini or Not products, and then when I walked over, I was like, I was really wrong. So there's a whole heap of products over there, so that's really awesome to have that. And I suppose that we really love supporting WA companies, and particularly when it is husband and wife teams like us, because we know what it's like to be, have your living room filled up with hobby products.
Exactly.
So what are your thoughts from Show 2019? Got anything to share?
We're going to get a bigger booth.
Yep, fab. We can definitely organise that for next year.
And we kind of like this venue.
Yeah.
That everything is in the same floor. Like, even though the other one was sort of nice.
Yeah.
It had a little bit separation, but it's nice to be able to see overview of everyone.
Yeah, so last year we were at Ascot Racecourse, and we were sort of over 2.5 floors. So our first floor, so we had first floor, which was mainly tournaments, and then we did have our retailers. Then upstairs we had all the intro hobby games, the clubs, the RPGs, and the board games were there. And then up on a sort of mezzanine level we had our workshops. Whereas at Claremont, there's no nice carpet on the floor, which that's kind of one of the downsides. But everything's on the one level, so we're all kind of together, even though we've sort of kept the RPGs in what could be almost out of the way, so it's a little bit quieter for them. But yeah, everything's kind of all together, which is nice. And we've got a bit more room this year, so we can spread out.
It feels bigger in here as well. I think the high ceilings of the floors. Is that me?
I might just get you to move over a couple of chairs. Yeah, I think the high ceiling does make a difference as well, because it definitely does feel much roomier. So, yeah, I don't know. We're getting a little bit of interference here, but we're not sure why, because it was all good before, and now it's
me.
Pile's mic is
like
singing.
Me.
Yeah. Cool. Any other thoughts that you've got to share?
No, just a great thank you for you guys, I guess.
You're very welcome. Thanks for coming and
you're
being
for
part of it.
Me. Randomly, I got trapped in.
This is what you get for popping on over. Awesome. Thanks so much, Pile.
By and large, though, there's plenty of room for us to change and improve in this venue. It was the first year in this venue.
Yeah, and that was something that I was just going to come back to before, but then my brain got distracted with how we define ourselves and how do you market that and all that kind of stuff. But so our intention at this point, although obviously nothing is confirmed because we just handed the keys back, our intention is that we will be in this same venue next year. We're looking at the same weekend, which I think is 31 May, 1 and 2 of June.
I'm not 100% certain.
Or
but
it might be 30, 31
30,
and
31, 1. I'm not sure.
Anyway, it's that weekend, which is WA Day over here in Western Australia. That's the Monday public holiday.
The worst
bank
part
holiday,
is that
depending on where you are.
The worst part is that the east coast of Australia has the public holiday the week after.
Well,
it'd be nice if it was the same weekend. That's all.
It would be, but
so
we've
looking
never
at this,
sort of managed that.
Looking at this, it's May 30th, 31st, and then the 1st of June.
Oh yeah, because next year's a leap year.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
So I've just had a quick look at the calendar. I'm 90% sure that'll be the weekend.
Yeah, no, it is. I checked prior to the event that the 1st of June is actually the public holiday, but I just wasn't sure.
And look, without having anything in writing, without having any real formal discussions with the venue, when we bumped out yesterday, I had to do a final tour and inspection with the site manager and with the events coordinator. And I said to them, look, we've done everything we can. We've cleaned up. We've put this away. We've, da-da-da-da. And they said, look, you probably left it in a better state than we gave it to you in.
Yes, it was quite filthy when they gave it to us.
We are happy to have you back already. Just, we'll give you guys a chance. Like, I'll go and put the dates in the book if you want right now, and we can sort all that stuff out a bit later on. So they're very keen to have us back, which is, you want to leave the venue with the venue wanting you back, not taking you back because you're paying them.
Yeah.
So, and then, we seem to, I got a chance to speak to the 2 of the committee members from the West Australian Model Trains Association, and they were keen to work more closely with us next year to the benefit of their event and ours, so that there was a bit more cross-promotion and a bit more knowledge about our event with them within their sphere of advertising. And obviously we can reciprocate that, and again, looking at how we integrate with them like we did this year for the discount that we agreed upon. So, they thought it was a great idea in the end because it, at $20 to come to 2 different events for the weekend.
Yeah. So basically what we did if you didn't come was that if you came to our event, then went to the model trains, then it would only cost you $5 per adult to get into the model trains and kids were free. And we did it the other way around. If you paid to go into the model trains, then we charged $5 per adult and kids were free to come into our event. And it turned out that basically our events were the same price. So it worked out exactly the same.
$20 an adult.
Yeah, it worked out the same. I've just realised I've been sat on our youngest giant lump of blue tack. So it worked out good for people who could go and check out the other event for a relatively low price, and so we're looking at doing that again next year.
Yeah, and they seemed very keen to work with us when I spoke to them on Monday morning during the bump out. So Tuesday morning, Tuesday.
I actually didn't see them on Tuesday.
No,
I saw them Monday evening.
They set the fire alarms off.
Ah.
And then they didn't have a key.
Oh, gosh.
Because they'd already handed the keys back. So
oh, gosh.
I was the only one there who actually still had a fire alarm key. So I had to go out to the car, find it out of the box that it was, I'd left it on top of a box and then something had to be put on top of it, and then go all the way back down into their venue to turn the fire alarms off.
Yeah.
I think something fell and knocked one of the doors open. So.
Well, someone forgot and pushed it and opened it.
Well, the door was locked.
Okay.
So. But yeah, that was fine. So it just gave me a chance to have a quick chat to them because they were using forklifts to move these giant layouts out of and put them on the backs of flatbed trucks because they're 8 feet long and 4 feet wide, and there are 12 pieces to them. So, but they take 3 days to bump in as well because of the way the layouts are done.
3 days to bump in and then all out in one day. Well, that's mad.
Well, they left before we did on the Monday night as well.
Yeah.
But they were there when we got there on Tuesday morning, and most of it had gone. So I don't know how they...
Well, they close before us each day.
Well, yeah, so I'm assuming that they closed the doors to the public at 4:30 if they closed at that on Monday afternoon and then spent 3 hours.
4 hours.
Yeah. But, look, if between the two of us we can continue to work together, that's really exciting for us because...
The two organisations, not Mike and I, as the two of us, because whenever we're married, we'll keep working between the two of us. So,
but yeah, they seemed really excited to continue the relationship with the model trains and OBSEC. So hopefully we can continue to go down that road with them and work closely with them. Particularly since it was so impromptu this year. Because they obviously book almost immediately after their event, and we kind of jumped in 6 months prior instead of 12 months like we hopefully will for next year.
Yeah.
So, that's... I mean, we had a good little space for the media, which kind of worked and kind of didn't work this year. I still think that those dividing walls that we had put up are probably a bonus in the end in terms of controlling where people could walk, and that media space was good. We just need to set the cameras up better, and the audio gear needs a bit more planning next time, because the mixing deck that we have clearly needs an upgrade because it didn't do what we wanted it to do.
Does what we need it to do for 11 months and 27 days of the year,
because it's just recording the two of us.
Or 3, 4, that kind of thing, depending on if we're using Skype or something. But for something like this, anyway, that's fine.
And that's all part of the learning process. We didn't even get to use the new microphone we had for the camera.
No.
Because you didn't get a chance to do any video.
No. For a photographer, I did very little photography.
But you did have your banner up.
I did have my banner up.
We also got a whole bunch of new banners this year. The RPG area got like 10?
Yeah, and so Micah, who I mentioned earlier from Pyromaniac Press, he had some artwork for his so he obviously created a banner for Pyromaniac Press, and the artwork was done by a man named Dante. I'm sorry, I'm not 100% sure how you pronounce that. So the artwork was done by him, and it was awesome because he was actually there on the weekend.
Oh, was he?
And he was volunteering with the RPGs as well, and he got to see his artwork on a banner for the first time.
Oh, cool.
And he was, so excited by that. And for me, there are, reflecting on the event, there are some fantastic things. So, there are people on the other side of the world that have heard about an event that we're running in Western Australia. People are talking about Western Australia because of this event. Like, there are two of us, and we are a husband and wife, and people on the other side of the world have heard about an event that we've created. That's pretty exciting. An artist got to see his artwork on a banner for the first time, and that's something that we were able to provide for him, and that's so exciting. Like,
the best part about that is I didn't know that it was a local artist who'd done that. It was one of my favourite banners in the room.
It was beautiful, yeah. Then we had an old man who came in. He'd been to the model train section, and I assumed it was with his daughter, but based on his age, it actually could have been with was more likely with his granddaughter, even great-granddaughter, who brought him in, and he got to go and talk to the historical gamers about his experience in World War II, and got to talk to people who are World War II enthusiasts. How often do you think that he gets that?
Yeah.
Like, there are things that we did that feel really huge, but those personal connections feel so much bigger for me, and they're probably the things that I'm most proud of. So that stuff I find really exciting.
Yeah.
Last year we were the first event that Josh and Adam ever streamed for Twitch.
Yeah.
Like, that's the stuff that makes me so proud to be able to have those opportunities.
I'm going to try and rope them back in for 2020 to do a bunch of streaming and like not just of the 40k tables, but just of the event.
Yeah.
He doesn't know it yet, but
he will do if he listens to this.
Well, I'll probably tell him tonight before I publish this. So
it doesn't come as a surprise.
Give him some warning when people start saying, "Oh, so you're going to Perth next year, are you?"
Yeah.
Although I have seen, like I said earlier, I changed my Facebook profile picture to a shot that was done. I don't know whether it was by Matt or by Mike Wayne.
That's Mike Wayne. Yeah, Matt sent me a whole heap of his photos that I've got to put up.
Of me in the Space Marine armour. And actually, you know what? No, that photo is one that was taken on my phone. The photo that my profile picture is.
Okay.
But Gemma Diffie's, Josh's wife commented, "Oh, this suit look really suits you, Mike." So I'm going to tell her, "Yep, come and see it next year in person." try and get her to come over with Josh and then Adam and come over for a weekend, and she can be part of some of the Warhammer Widows and be part of our community for a weekend.
We actually didn't run any of the Warhammer Widow stuff this weekend, and so a couple more things that
Ascot works well for that because it's so close to the Swan Valley, so we'd have to come up with something else for Claremont.
Yeah, but even just having something where we can actually host a Warhammer Widow high tea as part of that space. There's so many rooms upstairs that we could actually do that in.
Yeah, but I don't like the idea of putting them upstairs away from everyone else.
They might. Just saying.
That's true.
Yep. And that, I guess that would appeal to me, being there and being supportive, but actually being out of the way so I can still hear myself talk and have a chat and that kind of thing would be kind of cool. So we got
we need a host, and you couldn't host that at the moment.
I think I could probably come up with a couple of people who would be happy to host that for us, so that'd be okay. So yeah, looking at that, and then we have spoken about potentially having a creche as well. That may not happen for 2020. It might
I was
happen
actually
for
thinking about that last night as well, after you'd fallen asleep, going, you know what, if we could have a space with those foam building blocks and all that sort of for the younger kids, and then something more age appropriate for the older kids with a couple of qualified, the responsible, all checked and
creche staff,
proper staff, then that might actually be a really good, because I saw a bunch of guys bring kids in who would have played, but couldn't because they didn't feel like they could leave their child unattended, which is great.
It's
but
definitely true.
But they also couldn't leave them at home for whatever reason, and they still wanted to come down and be part of the event. So if we can provide an opportunity where we have so many pre-booked spots for a creche, we might cap that out really quickly. I don't know.
But even there were a couple who are in the West Oz painting group, and they both wanted to do Mark's painting workshop.
And one had to look after kids.
That's it. So then they're kind of working out, okay, well, how can we juggle this so that you can do that and I can do this, and being able to just kind of tag team, but being able to drop your children off, or even just being able to wander around and not being able to participate in the RPGs because I can sit still for 2 hours, but my 2.5-year-old isn't actually going to let me do that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, speaking of the RPGs, I had another idea for the RPGs.
Oh gosh.
One of my favourite things to watch are the PAX Prime Acquisitions Incorporated videos. So they do like a 2-hour live show on stage for much like the Dungeons and Drongos did on the weekend, where they do a live performance of a role-playing game.
Oh, I'm so disappointed I missed that.
Yeah,
this
likewise.
is the downside to organising this. We don't get to do any of the cool stuff we organise.
No. Anyway, so PAX Prime does this every PAX that they do in America for PAX Prime, and then they throw them in on the East and West and whatnot while they're in America. I don't think it's been to Australia yet, even at PAX in Melbourne. However, when they do it, so Chris Perkins, who is the DM usually for this particular event, gets this huge, big, sort of 3 foot by 4 foot sculpted piece of like an encounter done up. Whether it's he's done a temple, he's done an underground thing, he's done castles that are floats. It's this really big sort of spectacle piece.
Yeah,
but it looks like a tabletop game, but it's actually done for a role playing game.
Yeah,
and I said to one of the DMs on the weekend, I said to Mike Kesavan, who's yes, I did say it right. I think I said it right. It's awesome. I sort of pitched this idea to him and said, look, how do you think this would go? And it basically involved the very first thing.
So he's Ask a Pathfinder.
Yes. The very first thing you see when you enter the RPG area is this diorama, essentially, like a 2 foot by 3 foot fixed encounter. And it's like a half hour game. And there's the four heroes or whatever it is going to confront the dragon or whatever it is. It's all miniatures based. There are 4 set characters, and it's a one-shot RPG.
Yeah.
And sometimes the biggest hurdle to running RPGs at these sorts of events is it requires you to have a prior knowledge, or at least have a vivid imagination, because it's all about, it's not necessarily about the miniatures. But I think if we can show people the two of them together, it makes dropping into one of the other RPGs that little bit easier.
Yeah.
And so I approached Michael and said, hey, this is what this is.
Now, there was actually someone at show. I was just very quickly trying to open my iPad because I know I saw some photos of it, and he spoke about it.
Yes.
In one of the RPG groups, and I cannot for the life of me remember who had it and which group they posted about it. But he's done a write up of it, and I was like, oh, I really need to ask him if I can steal that to put on the OBSEC blog. So I'm going to have to find it. But yeah, there was kind of this whole similar thing, and there was water and some stuff and buildings, and he had that at show this year.
He did, yeah. And that was obviously what he'd planned there was a bigger version of what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about here is imagine you and a couple of friends go, oh, there's a big sign that says, do you have what it takes to enter the cave of terrors, or whatever you want to call it? And at the table, there's space for 4 players. There's a DM all dressed up. And then...
Yeah, no, I can definitely see Mike doing that.
And then at the front of the table are the 4 models for the 4 heroes. And you can see like a cliff wall with literally a cave opening in it. And then there's a giant black box that covers the rest of the table. And then once you enter the cave, you lift the black box off the top of it, and you can see the entire cave network, and there are the miniatures in there and whatever else it happens to be. And so it's this sort of set encounter where you don't lift the top off, so you might start with the DM saying, oh, you've been hired by the town of such and such to, people are going missing. It's, the bones of the dead are scattered around the cave. So you're going to go and investigate the cave and, get rid of whatever horror lurks within. And it would give the DM an opportunity to make a big theatrical display of Dungeons and Dragons, or whatever, system was being used. Dungeons and Dragons being the easiest to reference in modern culture. It'd all be visual because there's miniatures involved, which ties neatly into the rest of the event. It'd all still be role-playing based, and you'd obviously need a DM who was larger than life, willing to put on that sort of actor's role and display.
And there are a few of them.
Absolutely. And then there'd be even the opportunities to change the monster, you write the encounter 4 different ways. So you might have a goblin tribe living in there for one of them, or you might have a vampire in another one, and you might have a dragon in another one, so that you could actually play the game multiple times with different... So you could play each of the heroes once and have a different encounter each time.
Yeah.
But either way, the whole point of it is you walk into the RPG area and there's a dude dressed up like a wizard, like making all these loud noises. We could do sound effects and actually really turn it into a spectacle.
Now, I love that idea. I do. And I'm already thinking, I wonder if we could talk to Steve about building that actual...
Oh, yeah, I've pitched this idea to a couple of people, and everyone's gone, oh, yeah, we can help with that.
Yeah. However, having a dude dressed up as a wizard, does that play into the stereotype of D&D players?
Look, it could do, but if we've also got LARP in the room and cosplay in the room, then does it feel off to have someone dressed...
I don't know that it's an issue. We had 24 different GMs over the weekend. To have one we had one guy, Reese, who's beautiful, walking around in his rainbow unicorn slippers.
That is true. He did.
So he's a larger than life DM as well, and he and Michael Cassavan, did I say that right?
Cassavan. K7 is what he told me.
Okay. I'm just going to go with Michael or Ask Pathfinder. So that's Barefoot DM is Reese and Ask Pathfinder is Michael. So they did a fantastic interactive role-play game, which I guess was sort of like LARP, but with no chainmail.
Yeah.
Because, they did still have props and things like that. And
they weren't whacking each other with them.
Oh, no, they were. Because our, at the time, 5-year-old was in there, and she was giving it a good old bash with whatever that big hammery thing was.
Yeah, the 5-year-old has no concept of pulling punches.
The other two were the same. So, there were lots of people involved, but our 3 kids were involved, and my mum was involved in it, who is so not...
No.
She's not a joiner. So, and then a whole heap of other kids and adults and that as well.
Yeah.
So, we did have that. I guess it's just a different option. It just popped into my head around...
Oh, look, however, if they want to dress in a suit and a tie, I think there's an opportunity there for them. Like, if you said to whoever was running this game, you dress up like the evil, like the witch in Snow White, like haggard, like hunched over with a big crooked cane, like grey, scraggly hair, and
That's what I look like by the end of the event anyway. So
but if
I
you
don't need to dress up.
But if the DM dresses up like that, and then the encounter is a goblin town inside, but then the next time you see the DM, they're dressed like if you have 3 or 4 DMs to run each. Across the day, different. Have someone dressed in a suit and a tie with slick black hair and...
Okay, well, anyway, RPGs is definitely Micah's area, so we might...
This is where my head's going, because I want more people playing, and I think there's a little bit of a barrier to entry for the new entrant to that community, because they might not necessarily know what role-playing really is. So if you've got the right DM who's willing to really go to town with a role, and then you can make the encounter change... You don't need to you could run, run the goblin version twice in the morning, and then the vampire one twice. And then
all right. Anyway, you're getting too much into the nitty gritty. The overall idea of it is good. I like it. Let's move on.
Okay. So if you want to help me build a goblin cave, let me know.
We need to have a conversation with Micah and things before we start going on and creating this as an idea. So let's not let it run away too much.
But I'm excited by it.
I can hear that and see it on your face.
Did you know I'm invited to go and play some RPGs for the first time in years by Mike Cassavan, actually, Into the Breach, which is the Malifaux Weird Miniatures RPG.
I don't even know there was a Malifaux Weird Miniatures.
Then just ignore the big Kickstarter boxes out in the dungeon with all the Malifaux. That's been there a little while now. You remember when I got the Voodoo doll?
Oh yeah, that's fine.
That's from the Voodoo doll. That's been there a couple of years now, but I finally got someone to play it with.
That's been there for nearly a decade.
No, it's not a decade. It's maybe 5 years. It's not a decade.
I was like, is that pre or post our youngest?
Well, that's a good point. I'm not... I think it's post, but only just.
Only just, yeah, okay. Anyway, it doesn't matter. All right, anything else? What was the area for the event that you thought really didn't work?
I don't know. I mean, it's hard, like you said earlier, as organisers, because we don't get to participate, we don't get to kind of see things. I think you're right in saying that the board game side of things probably is the weak point at the moment, or it's the weakest point at the moment.
Well, that's not true, because we actually had board games there. We didn't have any CCG there.
That is true.
So, collectible card games. So, I guess that would be the weakest point. But for the elements that we did have there, then yes, definitely board games were. And they weren't, to my knowledge, utilised anywhere near as much this year as they have been in the past.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I mean, there's...
Despite the fact that I keep buying them.
As long as they're good games, I don't mind.
Well, I don't know. We don't have enough time to play any of the darn things.
No, and at the moment there's nowhere to play them in the house because the dining table's been moved, all the chairs have been moved.
We're going to get our house back.
Yeah, hopefully this month. So you look. I mean, my favourite part of the weekend was dressing up as a Space Marine.
I haven't got to that yet. I'm talking about weaknesses.
I'm going there now because.
You're supposed to be polite and ask me what I think the weakest part of the event was.
You just told me it was collectible card games.
No, I didn't.
What would you think the weakest part of the event was?
There's only one of me. And everyone I was in orange, so everyone knew where I was and kept coming and finding me.
And see what it feels like?
I hid in the toilet for 4 minutes. 4 minutes I hid there. And guess what? Someone came in there and found me.
You see what it's like? The first year I wore orange, you thought it was awesome because you could spot me. Now it's unavoidable.
So, yeah, look, and that comes back to what I was saying at the beginning. We do need to have people who can be the go-to for different elements of it rather than, well, if it's...
Just means we have to get Micah a bright orange shirt next year.
Oh, true. Sorry, Micah. Okay, so what was your highlight of the event? Obviously, dressing as a Space Marine.
The look on your face when I said I was dressing as a Space Marine, which I didn't realise Troy had already asked you, and you'd said no.
Yes.
Because then he said, come over.
Asked Mum. Mum said no, so I'm going to ask Dad, see if I get a better answer.
But I didn't know he'd asked you, so he came to me and said, you're about the same height. How tall are you? 5'11", just shy of 6. What size shoes do you wear? 10. Come with me. And he walked me to the suit. Said, do you want to get in it? I went, yes, which is, as I said earlier, the appropriate answer if ever asked you want to be a Space Marine. And then I ran from where he was to you at the front door, shoved my phone in your hand and said, I'm going to be a Space Marine, with you yelling at me, you don't have time to be a Space Marine. And I said, watch me. And then 20 minutes later was stomping around the hall in a 20-kilo suit of foam and wood and plastic and
resin
power armor. Unfortunately, the power in that power armor, the batteries were flat because there's a bunch of fans inside it, and had the fans been operating, I reckon I could have worn it for way longer than the 20 minutes I was in it. But
I reckon you couldn't.
It got hot real quick. And I got some photos in it, and I got the amount of people that saw it stomping around, and kind of, because it's obviously been seen at the con, they've looked and then done a double take when they've realised it's me stomping around in it. That was fun. I was taller than 95% of the people in the room.
You weren't taller than Tiny.
No, Tiny was at least an inch taller than me, and I went from just shy of 6 feet to probably close on 6'9".
Yeah.
And Tiny was still taller, which was terrifying.
Yeah, he came in to talk to Troy about commissioning.
Getting a suit done, and he wants to come next year to show as a Khorne Berserker. And if he gets a suit that does a similar thing in terms of scale, he's going to be 8 feet tall, which is going to be, well, obviously with the horns and everything that go on a Khorne Berserker helmet, he's going to be huge. So that should be suitably terrifying for a younger audience.
No.
He was a lovely dude,
yeah.
But seeing a blood-splattered Khorne Berserker wandering around the room might be a pausing moment of, oh my god.
It's something that we do need to think about as far as the cosplay goes, that you actually can't have any, around the rules from the Royal Agriculture Show, rules for weapons.
Yes.
So we need to have
Troy's ones you get away with because they're not weapons, they're big chunks of plastic, but obviously carrying around any sort of sharp objects is a big no-no.
Well, no, there's a rule in there around something that looks like
they say so plastic ones that might look like real military weapons are still a no-no.
Yeah, or real handguns or something like that. Obviously, taking a real handgun is a definite no-no.
But Troy's weapons couldn't be misconstrued for anything remotely resembling real.
No, and that's fine. But you just popped
And we had one of the other cosplayers whose name escapes me showed up on, was it day 3? With his version of Drachnian, the big demon sword of Abaddon. Did you see that wandering around?
I saw a sword.
It's Drachnian, the sword of Abaddon.
I didn't see a person attached to a sword. Was he dressed up as well?
No. He came and saw Leone at the booth.
All right. Yes, I did see that.
Yeah, I can't think of the gentleman's name now. It's eluding me.
Oh.
There's a lot of names in my head and I can't lay it.
I think I know who it is, but I don't want to say it in case I get it wrong.
He's also done a Khorne Berserker axe, which I saw at Games Workshop Morley not so long ago. But yeah, those sorts of things are exciting to see wandering around the room because they tie into what we're already showing off, and it was really cool. Like I got to see a whole bunch of people and hang out with people and chat to people, and I didn't get to play any games. Stanley was having a go at me because he said, "Oh, I'll borrow you for half an hour. You can play Titanicus," and that didn't happen.
No.
I thought you might have killed me if you'd found me playing Titanicus.
Oh, yeah, no, I would have.
I got the devil stare for a good half hour after wandering around as a space marine. So I can't imagine what it would have been like if I actually got to roll dice. There's still a look of evil. What about you? What was your favourite thing? Me being a space marine?
Yeah, that really excited me while I was working my bum off to see
I was TOing in that suit.
Stomping around. No, I'm just kidding. You did really enjoy it, and it did make me happy to see you that excited. So it did actually bring me joy to see you that excited. I'm
40 years old and I'm jumping into a foam suit to pretend to be a space marine.
Yeah, and there were a lot of people who were very jealous. I think the thing that ran the smoothest was Natara being available for the first day and training people on the other 2 days to run the door made that so much easier for me.
Yeah, her coming in on the Sunday morning prior to joining the Underworlds tournament.
Yeah, and I felt really guilty asking her to do that.
Particularly since she paid to play the tournament.
Yeah, so we'd had somebody jump in to say that they would help out and volunteer on the door on Sunday at the last minute, and he'd never done that. He'd never done the door before, and I realised that Sunday was our biggest event day, and not only that, but all the Underworld decks needed to be checked.
Yeah.
So I was going to be on the door with someone who had never done it before, never used the till, never used the square reader, never used the Humanitics scanning app, and I had to get all of these people through the door in the shortest amount of time possible. So at 5:30, I sent Natara a message and said, look, I shouldn't be asking you this. You're here to play a game. You can say no. Is there any chance if you come in early and get your deck checked first, could you then work on the door get these people in and then go and play your game. And she was not only more than happy to do that, but then came in before she had to go to work on Monday to do the same thing again, to get people in and to train the people who were going to be on the door on Monday. So
I wonder if she knows that Ryan messed up her deck.
Well, let's not talk about that.
No. It was resolved before the event, but he came down to me and said, "Oh, come you check my deck and Natara's deck."
Yeah, because I'd said do that. Well, actually, I said come in and Michael check yours, and then Ryan beautifully said he would get that check so Natara could come and help me out sooner.
So I checked his, and it was fine. And then he handed me Natara's, and there was a card missing that was on the list.
Oh.
And I said, "Dude, this healing potion that you've got written down here isn't in the deck." And he went, "Crap. I'll be back." And he's come back about 15 minutes later with the card to add to the deck. And I've gone, "Okay, that's fine, dude." And he's going, "I made this deck. You'd have killed me if it wasn't right."
Yeah.
So
so that ran really well, and the swap meet ran really well as well.
Yeah.
And I think because we'd had the difference of opinion about it, and you'd said that we should cancel it, and I'd been adamant that no, it was going ahead, and that's what I was going to say before, because we hadn't done any pre-registering for it. So on the Sunday night when I was trying to set up for it, no idea. So I set up 3 tables,
which wasn't enough very rapidly.
No, so I was like, I don't want to set up too many because it's going to look pathetic if I put out 15 tables and only need 1. So yeah, then it became rapidly apparent that we were going to need more tables, and we ended up with probably 12 tables set up at one point.
It was a good mix of stuff as well. It wasn't just Games Workshop stuff. There were books, there were role-playing bits and pieces, there was Warlord
RPG
game stuff.
And across quite a few different game systems, including role-playing game and board games as well.
I saw some guys who...
I really wanted to buy that board game, but I didn't.
Which one?
Can't remember, but I like the look of the box and the pieces that were inside. It was Adrian Scott, so I'm still tempted to...
Hit him, see if he sold it?
Oh, I think it was Adrian? I think it was Adrian, yeah.
See if he actually sold it?
He didn't sell it. I know he didn't. I was keeping an eye on it.
Well, there were 2 Dark Elder Drakari Razor Wings there, which are mail order only. And there were 2 of them brand new in plastic, never opened. And I went, oh, they're $45 each. I've only got 1 for this army, and I can have up to 3. I think Mark Howarth from Albany took one of them home.
Oh, well, okay.
So I don't know whose they were. I think they were
probably Dan Mutter.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Dan Mutter, Bodie, and Richard, I think they had 3 tables each.
I knew Richard was bringing a lot of stuff.
Yeah, Bodie came in with a box, and that was when there were 3 tables out, and he's going to need... He said, I'm going to use these. Where's everyone else is going? And I laughed, and he goes, no, this is only the first box. So, yeah, and Dan Mutter had more than Bodie.
If he listens to this and he's still got that Razor Wing, let me know. But I think Mark House took at least one of them back to Albany with him.
I think he took...
He might have taken both.
He might have taken 2, yeah.
But, no, look, I mean...
But that went well, so I want to build on that for next year. But I was really... The process of it worked really well, and the 3 guys...
In terms of the registration and taking the money and...
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing was that as soon as... Like, the idea was that between 8 and 10 would be people dropping their stuff off. And if people wanted to drop their stuff off later, that was fine. But I wanted the swap meet to open at 10 and there actually be stuff on the table at 10.
Yeah.
So the swap meet opened at 8, and by 8:05, people were in and buying stuff. So I had hoped that by saying that we would open it at 10, people would have the opportunity, like the 3 volunteers, Steve, Mark and Marcus, would basically have the time and space to be able to check everything and get it all out nice and clearly. But, yeah, then people were over trying to buy stuff, and I said to them, look, you can turn them away and tell them to come back at 10. And they're like, nah. If other people wanted to buy early, like first in, best dressed, we can handle it. Let's do it.
It just means we'll have to allow people to come in at 7:30 or something to deliver next year, to then have the public doors open at 8.
Well, no, this worked. Okay. I wouldn't change it.
Yeah, but if it gets bigger, it's going to get awkward real quick. I know that where this format came from, they require the stuff to be delivered 24 hours in advance. Which is fine if you're already coming to show. Not so fine if you're only coming for that. So
yeah,
but there's room to discuss that and work that with the community and with us and the volunteers. So anyway,
Lots of things.
Hopefully there's enough space through this episode that I can put, how many of those interviews worked, I have no idea. We did speak to Pele from Alpha Strike. We spoke to Will from Crags. We spoke to Little Robot. Who else did we speak to? I forget.
This is the downside. We didn't get an opportunity to,
I actually went and spoke to the guys at Outpost and Napoleonics and asked to get a chat to them. I wanted to grab George and get him from I'd Crit That and, try and get all the clubs to have someone that we could speak to. Try and get Micah over to speak to him, Mike Kesavan.
Well, he was a player this year, so
yeah, but
it's good to get players' perspectives as well. Yeah, I did do some videos. I didn't get as many done as I had hoped, but they were just phone videos, and I haven't listened to them to make sure that you can actually hear the person that I'm interviewing, chatting to. So I did have that conversation with Micah around what was happening at the event, and
depending on what that's like, we might try and release a bonus episode of the podcast, which is all just the interviews, depending on how I can intersperse them with this.
Well, I do have a plan that I'm going to try and get some of the photos of the event that I didn't take very many of, but we had Sam from...
Should we do a competition with the photos?
Oh, I don't like competitions.
Well, we've still got a couple of show bags left, so we could give away a show bag for our favourite photo from show 2019, and you can submit all the photos you took, or one of the photos, or your favourite photo, and we can open up a competition page on Facebook, and you can post your photos that you took from show into those comments, or a link to wherever you've got them saved. Ideally, I'd like to actually have the photos on the page,
one place,
and then we can give out a show bag.
Okay, well, can we talk about that and how that might work? But I'm hoping to do kind of like a show reel. So the little clips that I did with people, we'll mash all those together, interspersed with some photos of the event, and then that can go onto the YouTube channel as well and be shared on Facebook and shared around. So people who weren't able to come can see what there was.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have got around the retailers, and I didn't get back to some of the clubs who were doing demos at the time. So
yeah.
So
we need a media team.
We need a lot of teams.
Yeah. That's true.
Mm.
Anyway, I think that's going to be it for this episode.
Yeah. Lots of can I put one more thing out?
Sure. I just want to on record, I've actually tried to end the episode.
Yeah, okay. It is really useful for us to have, I guess, positive feedback from people that we can then put out and share when we're going out to different
companies and
organisations to get them involved. So if you're able to supply us with a photo of you and a quote that you're happy for us to use, that would be absolutely brilliant.
We do a a corporate pack that we supply to retailers and sponsorships and corporations, and we'd always, rather than singing our own praises, have you guys sing them for us. And
it seems more authentic that way.
Any sort of quotes and photos that you're able to share, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I'm going to steal some from the event page as well, where people have commented, and before I steal them, I'll go to you and say, hey, look, is it okay if I use this, and can I perhaps use your profile picture or something like that for it? Yeah.
Anyway, then, we're going to wrap this episode up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether hopefully there's been the stuff that we recorded interspersed through this episode. I'll do the editing today, and we'll see. Because at the time of recording, I don't know. Yep. I haven't even checked that audio yet. Mm-hmm. Part of the issue that I've had with the laptop this morning, I think, is because I hit record and we started recording, and then we kind of went away and did other things, and then came back, and then went away and did other things, and then came back. There's probably 2 hours of audio, uncompressed audio.
Yeah.
That it's been trying to crunch and save, and it didn't like that.
Had a bit of a tantrum.
Yeah, I actually thought there was something wrong with the laptop because it just was not loading, and I disabled everything and finally got it to screen. So that was good. But hopefully that'll all be interspersed with this. Otherwise, we'll do a bonus episode, and you'll get to listen to those interviews separately. Otherwise, we hope you enjoyed show 2019. We will probably have a couple of podcasts without mentioning show.
Are you sure?
Well, I'm hoping so.
Okay.
With a bit of luck, we'll have some quiet time. And, we'll start talking some of the stuff for show as we start confirming it, and whatnot for 2020 soon. Otherwise, thank you for supporting us for 2019. Thank you for bearing with us for all the videos and all the tantrums and all the live streams, and we'll probably start drinking less on the live streams, actually. Maybe not the next one.
Yeah, maybe not. And also for people who were listening at the beginning of this, which hopefully is everybody, then, ask us about the team challenge.
Oh, the Interclub? We'll see what that looks like.
Yeah, the Interclub challenge, sorry.
Yeah.
WATC tickets go on sale today.
I better try and sort that out as well. Then that might be a day late because
go on sale tomorrow. Let's say that again. Ready? And you can cut it in.
No.
WATC tickets go on sale tomorrow.
We had 14 tickets available for the public, and then we sold 6 of them to the patrons. So we have 8 team tickets that are going to go out to the public, and they're going to. We will post on the Facebook page prior to them going live, and we'll give everyone notice. And then it's first in, best dressed. There will be no holds. There will be no saves. Save us a spot. Whatever. They will be what they will be. So hopefully that will be today. All the back end is ready, so I should just be able to go and sort that out this evening. But we'll see how we go.
Now, I know that we're trying to hang up, but I'm just going to keep talking.
Of course.
As a result of the events, we learnt some stuff, I guess. We're always trying to learn and improve and grow. And, as a result of some of the things that came out of some of the events over show, we are going to make some changes to the Players Pack.
Yeah.
The first change that we're hoping to make to the Players Pack is to change the actual format, because it's a giant pain in the butt with having everything in boxes.
Yeah, the way that you edit it, which you never see because it's in a PDF.
Unless you happen to be TOing an event for us and you try and edit it.
So it probably won't happen for WATC, but going forward it will. The all the information will still be there. It'll just be written differently. Yeah,
and we're going to. Oh, excuse me, yawning. We're going to add a couple of extra bits of information in there as well.
Yeah.
Can you remember what those extra bits of information are?
I can indeed.
Beautiful. Do you want to share those now, or we're just going to whack them in place?
No, we'll just whack them in there and
Now, Travis, I think, had some little Easter eggs hidden inside the 40k Players Pack, doubles pack. Did anyone actually find those? Do you know?
I don't think so. We actually ended up shuffling around because the best theme award was a separate award to the dirtiest theme and something else, and no one did the other 2 things.
Oh, right. Those must have been the Easter eggs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, we'll see.
Alrighty.
All right, everyone take care. Hopefully we'll see you the next podcast in 2 weeks' time. You'll catch us live every alternate week from the podcast, as usual. This has been our wrap-up for show 2019. Thank you very much for listening. We hope to see you in show 2020.
Thank you for the support over the last however long.
To all the volunteers, to the retailers, to the sponsors.
Do you know what I realised? This is, not that we should have realised it beforehand, but this is our birthday event. So
is it?
Yeah.
Is it really?
We started the 9th of June. So we try and host an event in June each year as our birthday event, and this was it.
Oh, wow.
So happy birthday to us.
So show will actually be the birthday event every year.
Yeah.
There you go.
So what year is it now? How long have we been going? 4 years?
2015, June of 2015.
June
the
2016 started.
2029. So this is year 4.
Yeah. So next year will be our 5th birthday.
We're now moving into year 5, yeah.
Anyway, so happy birthday to us. Well done, everyone.
No one got us cake.
I didn't get us cake. Do you know, last year and the year before, we had, we got cake and celebration drinks and all that kind of stuff. This year, we just collapsed.
That's true, we did.
But we do need to do something to celebrate.
Anyway.
Surviving.
Now I'm going to really seriously turn the recording off.
All right, happy gaming, everyone.
You've been listening to the Objective Secured podcast. If you'd like to get in touch, you can visit our website, objectivesecured.com.au. You can find us on Facebook, Facebook/Objective Secured, or you can email us obsec@optusnet.com.au. Thanks for listening.